Hello and welcome everybody.
Good morning.
We're super excited to be with you. I'm Laurel Daniels, an account executive here at Grace Company, and joining me we have
Justice Daniels, the Director of Marketing here at Grace Company.
Yes, and we're super excited to be with you. This is day 3 of Fall Festival, so we're kind of coming towards the end of it, but it's been super fun. I really love to have everyone joining us. So kind of as we're welcoming everybody on, go ahead and tell us where you guys are joining from. I know before we got started here, we were looking at some of them. We had one, yes, from Ecuador, it looks like. Welcome.
Long ways away.
Yes, very long ways.
And sunny today, Virginia, because usually it's not all that sunny out there. We were actually just in Tennessee, and it was actually more sunny than I thought it would be.
Really nice. Yes, we have from Arkansas. Welcome. Canada. I think this is one of my favorite parts about it, is to be able to see where everyone is joining from and to see truly it is everybody from all over.
Not just the country, but the world sometimes.
Yes.
And that's really inspiring us, and I love that we get to inspire people from all over the world, and y'all inspire us to do these events.
Yes, I know, it's wonderful. Becky, welcome from St. George, Utah. Hopefully the weather's good down there for you guys. Maybe it's still a little warmer. I know here right now it is raining.
It's raining.
A little chillier.
From Texas, hello and good morning.
Welcome. Yes, this is wonderful. Thank you again, everybody, for joining with us. No, I was going to say down there, yeah, that's awesome. See, yeah, truly all over.
What time is it in Nova Scotia right now?
I don't know. You got to put it in there, Miss Thimbles. I don't know the time. I usually know what time it is in Utah. That's about it.
Right where I'm at now. Not only that, we love knowing where you're from, but what projects are you working on? What makes you want to join and see and be inspired from too?
Yeah, let us know in the comments there what you are working on. I know we've seen some wonderful segments of different things people here are working on. One of them was the wonderful memory quilt, if you will, that Carla made for Justice on kind of his journey and for Will and all that.
That was super special for me. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up. I don't know if you could really see it there, but it just meant a lot to have a gift like that given to me. And it made me think of the power of that and what it did for me to bring me joy and comfort. And I'm super excited to have that hanging on a wall behind me at my desk. So that's super cool. Speaking of projects, one of the things that's also been cool for me lately is my grandmother started to do handmade teddy bears. Mm-hmm. And so I've actually sewn one with her, but I don't do it all the time. But that's a fun little project I've done, you know, relatively recently.
Yeah, well then hers are super cute. She's got all sorts of ones. She's creating new ones. Before it started out pretty simple fabric. She's got a little bit more elaborate, fuzzy materials now for people as well.
All sorts of different ones and meanings. And I know we have a couple people here. Tina Sampers with fur baby quilts. John Hinton with Christmas quilts. That's cool.
We are gearing up for that season.
We got the fur baby quilts and quillos. Oh, that's a cool name for a pillow. Unicorn quilt for my granddaughter by Greta.
Fun.
That's awesome.
That's adorable.
It's so cool to see from all our different platforms. So, you know, we have people from the Grace Events page. We have people on YouTube and Facebook. So really, there's a whole ton of ways you can join. And if you have a friend who wants to join and they don't know, there's almost nowhere you can't join us from now. So get to one of those platforms, invite someone over to join us, and we'll be there.
Exactly, and then let's kind of keep going through, because I personally love to see all the projects that everybody has, just because they're all so different, and sometimes ones that I don't even think of. You know, a scrappy quilt and a t-shirt quilt. I know that's really neat. I know sometimes there is one, like a segment we have later coming up, that talks about denim quilts, and I know with that one, I've heard a lot of stories. I've never made one myself, but that it can be very difficult because of the material.
It's a little thicker.
Yes, and so that's where, like, even with this segment, or this themes, right, you know, or this Fall Festival's theme, I should say, Quilting in Style, a celebration of quilting and fashion. And so, really
I think Barbara's done that a lot. I've seen a couple for Barbara now come up, but 2 quilts for great nephews and nieces to get with a book. The Little Ghost Who Was a Quilt.
Oh,
that's
cute.
Adorable. That's awesome. But you were saying the quilting and fashion. Sorry, I kind of put you over there. It's not just on a quilt. Maybe it's also you're making, you know, like you said, maybe a quilted jacket, which you picked one up recently at a show that was super cool.
I'm excited. I decided I was going to wear it tomorrow, kind of end of it, you know, so you guys could see it. Now this isn't quite quilted, but it's got a quilted pattern on it. So I'm, you know, trying to stick with that theme that we have, because it is super neat to see. Again, I'm really excited to show you guys that tomorrow. I didn't quite make it myself, but it is one I've seen, and I love to be able to see the fashion, because I think for me, I'm not a huge quilter myself, but I love being able to see be incorporated to the different things, because that really is so unique. And again, to see the creativity that people come up with for things, I'm like, holy crap, like that's amazing to be able to see.
Yeah, from just style to function. Mary Alice has a firewood carrier she's been making. That's really unique. I'd never actually even thought about how you quilt that or bring that together. That's awesome to see.
That's awesome.
I know Robin Anderson made a denim baby quilt. Very cool. So all those are different ways to use fashion. And I think we even have someone waiting for my little rebel to finish a couple quilts. We'll work on getting that out the door as soon as possible. We're very excited for what that is. It's going to be really cool. And there's a lot of good deals on that going on right now too, that we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe that's something we kind of can't go into right now, is just the different specials that we have. So I know for the month of October we have some, but then especially with this wonderful fall festival we've done last week, and then kind of as we come up to an end here with day 3, there's a few different ones that we have where bundled or individual pricing. So first one we have is on our automation. Now this one is wonderful just because of the product itself, but then the fact that it's 30% off.
30% off, and as you see, if you've been following us, it's gone from QCT 5 to QCT 6, which is really cool. And maybe we could describe that a little bit on the different models, because we've not actually had a base version. The QCT 6 is a base, right? The edge-to-edge function that it does.
Yeah, so a little bit different. So part of it is a little bit of a rebranding, but then also a new base level that we've come out with, right? So first one we have is the QCT 6. Now this is a wonderful thing, and if you guys have kind of been following along with us, is one that we've often paired with the Little Rebel. It now can actually be paired with all of our different frames and machines, but that's where you've seen us really talk about it the most. So it is a wonderful, super simple way to step into edge-to-edge quilting. So it gives you or allows you to do one row at a time, moving across, and it is wonderful where it comes with a lot of different patterns. I did watch a little bit, I think it was last week, maybe day 2 with Carla and Jana. They talked about it just a little bit in the morning segment. But they had talked about how Jana and Carla themselves were able to design some of the patterns for what that is.
Yeah.
And then I know other people here also were able to do that. I think they said Leah Day had done a few designs as well.
Yeah, there's actually going to be a folder in QCT6 that says these names. You'll see Carla, Leah Day, and other contributors that we've had, and as we add to it, we'll keep that system down there. But yeah, as Laura was saying, a beautiful system to do automated quilting at the best price out there that I know of. And it's a really great system. So we recommend you check it out, definitely on our website, and you can't beat the pricing that we're doing as really part of our whole bundle, which maybe as we go through the sale, we'll tell you why we have such a good sale and what that really means. So yeah, that's our QCT 6. As far as the branding, I did want to highlight quickly, you see that there's a Plus and a Pro. It has the same features as our Beginnings and our Pro had before, except with the update of being able to do edge to edge now as well.
Yes, and again, for those that do already have the pre-existing QCT 5, whether it's the Beginnings or that Pro, again, for that really, it's a simple name change with the addition of that edge to edge. So again, the 6 Plus is what used to be QCT 5 Beginnings. QCT 6 Pro is, again, the same, just a little bit different name on that.
Yeah,
so
thanks for letting us take some time to come back and forth there. And as we move on, I did want to say congratulations, Casey Connon. I missed the whole weekend because my son got married. I do have a few quilts submitted, so that's awesome. Congratulations on that, and we're happy to have you join in, and we'll check those quilts out later for sure.
Yes. Oh, well, then I do want to jump back to the sales, but first I do want to remind everybody as well, because we've talked about some previous segments, and then even now with missing, you do have the ability to actually go back through and rewatch these segments. And with that, I do know we're kind of getting a run through, if you will, of this week. They talked about there is exclusive content that is available on the Etched platform that we have. So we'll have these videos available there. You can see that's how you can get to it. Again, that's the website, I should say. But yeah.
There's actually some exclusive content too. So we have wonderful ambassadors that partner with us, and they create content specific for us in these events, and we love it, and I'm sure y'all love it too. We see all the things there. But on Etch, there's actually 5 courses that you can go see that were made part of Fall Festival, but they're only viewable there, and they're viewable and live now. It's an awesome quilting platform that's dedicated to educational content, resource content, and we really hope you enjoy that.
Yes, and I do know there's a lot of part 2s, so we might have shown part 1 to find the part 2. It is available. Again, it's just through specifically that Etch platform. But I do want to go finish going through the deals because we do have some amazing specials. So what we were showing is some of what we call the Q-Zone frames. So we have our Q-Zone hoop frame and our Q-Zone queen frame. Now they are a little bit different. The hoop style frame is a bit smaller, so it's meant for those that don't have a whole ton of space. Where if you're like, hey, you know, I do have some space and you like what we call the rolling rail frame, you can step into that Q-Zone queen frame.
Yes, and at a very good price difference there. So if you're like, oh man, it's a price decision that's making you go, I'm gonna go with a hoop frame, right now's the time to get your rolling frame. And you know, in the long run, save yourself some speed and time by being able to roll your fabric up there.
Yes, absolutely. So wonderful specials we have on those frames. And then we also have some of our newer frames, the Quilters Evolution frame. So this one we do have a hoop style. So again, still being able to provide an option for those that don't have the space for a larger frame, but then does have some key differences with it, where I'd say one of the major ones is the metal ratchets as well as the metal ratchet stops in both of these frames.
A very sturdy premium frame, but also the cool thing about this is the upgrade path. Right?
Yes.
Being able to go from that hoop frame and take it all the way up to a 12-foot rolling frame. That you can buy the specific boxes and do a good upgrade path there, as opposed to going and having to buy a whole new rolling frame. You can just get those upgrades, which is really cool, really fun.
Yeah, that's a huge thing, because a lot of times in just about any other system in the quilting world, if you step into a hoop style frame because you don't have space, if you ever need or are ready to go to a larger frame, you actually have to buy a whole new frame.
Yes.
Usually that's how it is, but with this one, just like Justice said, there's some simple extensions that you can get and different rails that would come to allow you to step into that larger frame.
Now there is a great question by Judy Johnson, and it says, will parts from the Evolution frame fit the Continuum 2 frame?
Great question. So with this one, unfortunately, it is not compatible. So it's just with the way the frames are designed. It is also meant to be, or help set apart those Evolution frames, where they are kind of part of that premium product there. So unfortunately, not necessarily compatible between the two. That being said, if you ever did need a replacement part for the Continuum 2, you can always call us. We still are fully servicing that frame.
Yeah, definitely would recommend still checking it out and getting into it. There's a lot of great features I think you'll love, from the shape of the rails into the ratcheting system. So go ahead and go check that out and call us to learn more about that. We'd love to have a conversation. But maybe we'll continue on with our deals and specials. I appreciate y'all letting us talk and go back and forth. And this is an exciting one, because we've not seen this price on this frame in a long time, if you have been following us.
Very long time.
But it's our cutie frame.
Yes, I love the cutie frame. I do think it holds partly a special part in my heart, if you will, because it was the very first frame I had ever done any quilting on. Like I came here and they're like, we're gonna have you film a video. I was like, I don't know anything, you know, like I was like, I'm learning, you know.
Yeah.
But it was Carla. She showed me literally how to load a quilt, and we did it with a domestic machine. So it was a very super simple way to step into it, and it really opened my eyes. Even within the video, you know, she's trying to talk and I'm just like, I'm just going in, and I like blocked everything else out.
It gets so fun. Like, because I also, prior to working here, no surprise, had not actually touched a frame in my life. It was amazing to feel it glide. And so maybe to describe that cutie frame a little bit for you who don't know, it is a portable tabletop frame, which means most flat surfaces that can fit a 4x2, this will be able to fit on it, and you can use almost any domestic machine, put it on there and quilt on a frame and finish those quilts a little bit faster. And it is a hoop frame, so it uses that zoning method. But right now you can get that for $579, which is an amazing price, and to really help you get into there. And do we have any other slides on those deals? Maybe?
I think we do have a few, yeah. So
this one's super
first
exciting.
one, yes. So we kind of just talked about the cutie frame. This is a little bit of a different, I'd say same type of frame, different model, if you will. But maybe Justice, you can tell us maybe what are some of the differences, or kind of why did we come out with this Cutie Breeze frame?
Yeah, and you're gonna notice immediately the handles and how they come over the top.
Right.
The big difference there is now it's a little bit more like using a long arm machine, where your handles are above your fabric. And this allows you to, sometimes when you're zoning and you have fabric that lays over with with bottom handles, you're not actually able to grab them all the same. Still a great experience. However, you do have to make sure you roll that up every time. With the Cutie Breeze, you won't have to roll that up. And it was a way to make the frame slightly better. There's some things you'll notice. It's a little quicker to assemble. It's a little bit lighter, but as sturdy. And it has that awesome new carriage to it that we got a lot of requests for. So people are gonna love it. And that's something we'll work on actually selling by itself so people can upgrade into if they want the upper handles and they have the original. Again, that's future coming, so a little sneak tip for you there, but don't worry, it will be coming later. And then we have awesome deals on accessories and the rear handles, and maybe why we'd want some of those, LJ.
Yeah, so rear handles really are wonderful, and it actually is nice to see them on sale because they're often things for the meant for people who are looking to do pantograph work, and so they're wanting to be able to work from behind the machine to do their quilting. And so sometimes it can definitely be an expense for people. Sort of like, hey, I really want to do that work, but I'm not able to step into what that is. So to have it now, the 20% off is wonderful, especially because they're not on sale very often, like at all. So if you are doing it or thinking, hey, let me try pantographs, now is a great time to be able to step into those rear handles because you'll see across the board, regardless of the machine you have, they're all at that 20% off for you.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight as we continue to move through this, the value of what this is it's the joy of giving too. When we were thinking and when we were like talking about what deals we wanted to offer, we thought about what do people dream about having, what do they dream about giving, and the excitement they see. And so the whole sale for our fourth quarter and fall festival is designed around how can we help others give the tools that they love to others, and how do they create their own dream system for the best price ever, right? Go ahead, get that bundle you want, get all that it is, because it's at the best price we've had all year. So it's really amazing. But as we continue, we have a ton of amazing machines, but the Unique 16X is honestly, just because of the look, I love it. Like it's maybe my favorite. I mean, nothing wrong with the others, but this is just my personal. I love the look of it and the capability of the 16-inch machine. Why would someone want to start with this?
Right. Really, it's just part of, you talked about the design of it. So it is designed with the intention of someone who maybe is going from a domestic machine into a long arm. So that's part of where we try to carry over some of the looks and really some of the ease into this mid-arm machine. And personally with it as well, I love some of the features that are there. They're really just kind of some things you're like, hey, my machine should have always had that, right? Like lights in the throat space, lights down in that bobbin area. And then for me, I am a sucker for our X Elites because I love the big touch screens on them. I think it just is a very familiar thing for me because I use my phone all the time. That's what I love to do with it. But really wonderful system. As you can see, there's wonderful pricing as well. So at any time you can step into a larger throat space machine without breaking the bank.
Absolutely. It's really awesome. And I thought we saw some questions. Well, I'll stop reading the comments because those are getting responded to by all of our help from the support here at Grace. And so finally, kind of coming to the end of the sales, we're going to talk about our Unique 19 and our 21. Ooh. Amazing prices, more throat space, more robust features, and honestly, a lot of amazing deals. You can't go wrong when you pick. But I would suggest we have a couple different tools, and maybe we could show you the bundle builder. Is there another slide of sales? I apologize. Okay.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
There's a lot on sale right now. All right, I apologize. I forgot about some of this. Let's keep going. Oh, that 20% off that we were talking about by TrueCut.
And this is amazing too because actually part of daily giveaway, today we'll be giving a giveaway of a cutting mat and the non-slip pad, so it falls into our cutting line. But then just following this segment, I did a little demo with Melinda, and so we're gonna really talk about all the different products. And this is an amazing system. Yes. It really is, and it has changed the way people have been able to really step back into quilting because before they weren't able to do this, process of cutting the fabric. Or I heard a story once of a lady who loved to do it, but she got arthritis, and so she just couldn't. So her lovely granddaughter would come over and help, but of course she was like, that's not as much as I want, right? She's like, come on, constantly, So for her being able to get this system, she was able to really do it more on her own time frame. So wonderful deals. Great. Again, we'll have a segment on it after this, but all 20% off. And then we do have our wonderful Little Rebel. Woo!
Yeah, the Little Rebel's amazing, and we have a few different tier options. Our first one is just a Little Rebellion. And the second and that comes with just the little Rebel and our limited edition navy cutter. The next one is you can buy just the little Rebel with the cutter, but you can also add QCT6 on it, and there's amazing bundle values there. As you can see, it comes up to right around $4,300 when you do that. And do we have another graphic? And then we have the Shaking Up the System, where you can get our exclusive merch bundle. As you can see, there's all the stuff that comes in it, and there's also a lot of graphics on our site, but you'll get that HBQ bag, you'll get the 9.5 square ruler, you'll get the True Grips, their thread, our HBQ stickers, and our Change the World mug. So it's a really great bundle. And you can add the QCT6 that one for $45.60. So really great price. This next one is maybe my favorite. Now I do like the QCT6 with it, but it's the Little Rebel bundle number 3, full on anarchy. And it's only $31.89. And why is this amazing? Because you're gonna get that cutie breeze when you buy this. So it has that merch bundle, has the Little Rebel, that cutter, but it also has the new cutie breeze system with it. So it's an amazing offer. And on that one, I just do wanna highlight, when you add QCT6 to it, we're doing free shipping on that bundle.
Yes, which is wonderful. That, like, you know, I think that's why everybody's like, yes, I'm excited. They're like, dang it, shipping, you know.
So you can get for $49.99 a QCT6, Cutie Breeze, Little Rebel, our merch bundle, and then that exclusive cutter. So it's amazing deals. It's a full-on system, and it's a really great value there, and I'm super excited to have that.
Yes.
We have a...
No, and so with that, if you guys have kind of been following along with us as far as the Little Rebel goes, originally we had, I want to say end of October was our pre-order cutoff date. We actually have since decided to extend it just a little bit, so it'll now go to November 5th.
And that's really because we're getting such an amazing response to this, and we are working through a few production things where we're trying to make this the best it can possibly be for you. So we're excited to get those shipping in a little over a month now.
Yes.
And we'll email you, keeping you up to date, but there's a whole page on our website, homepage. You can find it when you visit graceframe.com.
Yes, and just a reminder, again, if you are thinking about the Little Rebel, yes, we did extend that date, but now is absolutely the time to get it, because even when we do get them, we're going to release the orders in the order that we've received them in.
Absolutely.
So I do know even now, someone's like, I just ordered, like, when am I going to get it? I'm like, actually, you know, it's a little later than some of those that had already had it on pre-order.
And as a gift option, I would pick that up now.
Yes, absolutely.
And I know we're moving into a bundle builder section, and I've blabbered too much, so we're running low on time. I think we got a segment coming up in 8 minutes, so I'll try to stay focused here.
No, it's good. We just really wonderful deals that we have specifically for you guys. You know, Jess has talked on it, but that really we're trying to help you be able to step into your dream system so that you can create really those memories and lasting memories for your loved ones and all of that. You know, I guess kind of going back to it just briefly, I know you talked about the one with Carla that she made, and I think that's just so wonderful because it just is, again, a lasting memory to be able to see that. And even with this whole fashion piece, right? There was one in, what is it, you know, where you can submit your quilts or whatever. One of the sections was a fashion one, and I saw a jacket or whatever that someone had made, and I think they were wearing it on a hike or something, you know? And so it's just really neat to be able to see that with all these wonderful, you know, deals, you can step into that dream system to really create that lasting memory for everybody.
And this month we built a special tool just for y'all to use to find kind of what that dream bundle is when you're looking at machine and frames. Now there's accessories you can add to it, but as we're looking at this, and you pull up the bundle builder and you find this through our sales page and hit the shop and build my own bundle button, you can see we built drop down tabs at the top so you can pick whatever machine you're interested in. And so across the top you'll get a drop down menu. You can choose from any of our machines, and on the left hand side you can see that row is actually of those frames, and you can select 3 frames, 3 machines, and you see the columns there of what's my value, how much is this bundle going to come out. And the goal is you find whatever dream, you know, dream a little, pick one that's right there, you know, and find the best value for you. And we've outlined the savings and what your cost is and what normally that is full price, right?
Yes.
And we're doing a lot of these. You'll see numbers on there, $4,000, $5,000, $3,500. It's amazing, and it's all geared around giving you the best bundle for the holiday season and getting you into your dreams. for a very accessible and affordable price, which is huge these days, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we do want to remind you guys as well, as we are beginning to get into day 3, just about scammers. We do just want to make sure everybody is cautious with things. So just keep an eye. If you ever do have a question, you're like, hey, I received this, I'm not sure, call us, email us. We'd be more than happy to kind of dive into that with you and let you know, hey, maybe you did win something right. So please just be cautious of that. You know, for a lot of things, we won't really send you a link or something, or if we do, it's usually through an email, right? Because you've already given us some of what that is. But just keep an eye out, double check the email address it's coming from. And again, at any time, if you're like, hey, I don't know, simply call us. We'd be more than happy to look through that with you.
Yeah, and also check us out on social. As you follow us on our own actual social platforms, that helps you authenticate who we are and if we're reaching out in the right way. And we also just do that because we do a lot of different types of engaging content. I don't know if you've seen the amazing post lately, but we'll do behind the scenes looks, and we have an amazing team here that loves showing you what's going on, and we really love that. And along those same lines, while you're visiting us, leave us some reviews. Go to our website, review a product if you bought it. If you're engaging with us on Google, we love seeing that. It helps us feel good about what we're doing, and it helps other people find these amazing deals and offers, right?
I would say that's a huge part about it, because at least personally, I am a huge review shopper. You know, before I buy anything, I'm like, let's check this out. You know, so being able to leave that review, especially I know when we talked about the cutie frame, a lot of you are like, hey, I love my cutie. Great, let us know that. Leave a review for us. Again, you can go to the specific product that you have and leave it there. So there's a lot of different spots for you to leave what that would be.
And when we're talking about you're doing all these things, we actually have an amazing place on our website. I mean, we got a few, as y'all know, but HBQ, we have a yearbook where quilters can come and share their stories of the ages, you know, like when you got started or one of your favorite quilts, or maybe a time where you really helped someone. And with that, we love collecting these stories and sharing those with y'all. So I actually have an HBQ story here, Laurel. If you're good, I want to read.
Absolutely.
And it's from Shelly from Paramo, Nevada. And I might have mispronounced that. But it starts, I started sewing in the summer. I was 8 years old. My cousin was staying with us, and she taught me to sew a skirt. I sew clothing for 25 years and still do sometimes. I started quilting with panels and tying them. Pieced my first quilt about 15 years ago, which, not to highlight, 25 years she's been quilting. Her first quilt pieced together was 15 years ago. That's amazing. With working, I rarely had time to do much sewing. Then retired, and since then I mostly quilt. I'm doing charity quilts now. Crafts, bags, totes, covers for my machines, and all sorts of others. Trying to master free motion quilting. I'm very arthritic and have been since I was 19 years old. Hands don't cooperate some days. The only quilts I ever saw was a double wedding quilt done for each grandchild by my grandmother, who was a seamstress all her life. She couldn't do any other quilt pattern. I want to learn a new pattern every chance I get. I love quilting. That's cool. Very cool story. Oh, there was the camera. Sorry about that. I had to focus to read that there, but I love hearing stories like that, and we love hearing your stories. And you can actually go to our website and read those. If you just go to graceframe.com and you look at our resources tab and you hit HBQ, you'll find all the access you need to find these amazing stories and this other content there.
Yes, wonderful to hear. I know even in the comments, everybody's like, oh, you know, they love that part of it, because it is wonderful to hear of kind of the upcoming of people and where they are in their journey. And I do think it's neat to hear sometimes, you know, I've been quilting, but they didn't necessarily piece, you know, to start quilting. I do think that's one thing. Everybody's like, you have to piece to quilt. It's not quite always the case, so really wonderful to hear. With that as well, I do want to actually highlight just for a brief minute here our charity that we have. So it's Loose Ends. If you guys are with us for our spring fling the beginning of this year, we've actually decided to kind of carry on with that same charity. So it's a really wonderful organization that helps finish projects. Now, it's not just for those that have passed on. Sometimes someone has started a project and for one reason or another is not able to finish it. And so these people are helping create and finish what that is. And the beautiful thing is it isn't just quilts. I know they've done some things for those that crochet and all of that. And they have different people that have volunteered from all over who say, hey, yes, I can do that. And they have different skill levels as well, right? So if you're like, I'm getting into it, but I want to help, they have that. But again, really it's to be able to donate to what that is. So you can visit our website and see that, or their website is looseends.com. project.org. Yes, right
That's
up there
awesome.
on there for you.
Yeah, a lot of amazing things. I know we're about to jump into a segment, but we
Yes.
have a big prize.
Giveaway?
We
Yes.
have a daily giveaway, which is prize number 7, and that is going to be given away to...
Here, let's do a little drum roll.
Woo! Patricia Nyberg, you're getting the TrueCut Cutting Mat Combo.
Yes.
It is valued at over $114, and it comes with that 24 by 36 cutting mat and that non-slip pad. It's really awesome, self-healing cutting mat, and I just know you're going to love it. And are we reaching out to her?
Wonderful.
And we will actually reach out to you to get that.
Yes, so keep an eye out for that. Be sure to comment as quick as you can or reply as quick as you can so we can get it to you as soon as possible. But again, if you weren't a winner, you still do have an opportunity to step into what that is because all TrueCut products are 20% off. But we'll go ahead and kind of jump right into this next segment, which actually is on TrueCut.
Yep, LJ and Melinda are going to show us an awesome TrueCut demo. We're so glad you joined us. Thank you for being here. It's been really fun engaging with you, and we hope you have an amazing day.
Thank you.
Welcome everybody. I'm Melinda Romero, account executive here at Grace Company, and joining me today,
I'm Laurel Erznosnik, also an account executive here at Grace Company, and we're super excited. Today we're going to give you a bit of a demo on all the different TrueCut products we have. Now Melinda, TrueCut is kind of an extensive line, isn't it?
it is.
We've got a lot of wonderful products and we are going to go over them, so stick with us as we do go through and highlight some of those key features of all the different products we have. We're going to start off kind of as a base and then build up and then talk about some of those wonderful bundles that you do have the opportunity to get.
Yes, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start. So you can see our array of awesome goodies we have here. So Laurel, what are we going to show first?
Yeah, so kind of going into that deep dive is actually our non-slip pads. So just underneath here, we do actually have an example of that non-slip pad. It is nice where it does come in different sizes to fit the corresponding cutting mat, but super nice. You can see it is going to give great stability to the cutting mat, and this works with any cutting mat that you may have, whether it's an existing or a new one.
Yes, and on top of our non-slip pad, today we have our largest cutting mat, 36 by 24, self-healing. It's printed on both sides. It has all of your markings just to help give you accurate cuts.
Yes, you know, Melinda, you mentioned it, but it is really nice that it is a double-sided mat for you. That way it does further just extend the life of the cutting mat.
Let's talk about our True Grips. I learned about True Grips well before my time with Grace Company. I had no idea this is where they came from. We apply just on the back of our rulers. Without a True Grip, you can see our ruler very easily will slip and slide across our cutting mat. However, with the True Grip, it's going to stay in place so much easier, allowing you those easy, accurate, safe cuts every time.
It comes with 15 of the small ones that are like little dots, and then 15 of a larger circle one. And it's really nice that you do see with ours that Melinda demonstrated, there are specific spots for them to fit on ours. However, it doesn't only work with our rulers. So any rulers you have, because with TrueCut, what we're doing is making it easier, safer, and more accurate.
Let's talk a little bit about our rulers. I love our rulers, Laurel. Yes. They come in so many different sizes, so many different shapes. We have square rulers, rectangular rulers, triangle rulers. But what makes our rulers so special is all of our rulers have this raised track on both sides. So it won't matter if you're right or left-handed. You can still utilize the track on either side of the ruler.
So with this, it actually allows it to interlock with our different cutters. And I'm gonna move some of this aside so we can kind of do a bit of a demo for you guys on this. So with this, you can see that there is a bit of what we call a guide piece sitting here on the cutter itself. Has the raised edge, so super simple. I'm able to put this up and over, and then it allows it to interlock. So it's not gonna pull away from my ruler's edge.
You know, Laurel, I always veer out to the right. I cut and waste fabric. Fabric's expensive. I know a lot of cutters will veer inwards. They'll nick their rulers. Some people nick their fingers. I've seen some pretty ugly injuries, you know, in my short time here with Grace Company. Again, it's a game changer. Easy, safe, accurate cuts every time.
We do have our straight cutters here as well. A little bit different. You can see obviously this one is a bit curved, and the reason for that, we've simply rotated the blade down at an angle for you. That way, when I go to cut, I'm able to keep a straight wrist, and you can see just a tiny bit of pressure from my palm, and then I simply bring my fingers in.
You know, when I started with Grace Company, I had never held a cutter that way. It felt so awkward, so not natural. I would hold my cutters with my thumb going forward. You can see my thumb like it's changed color with the amount of pressure I'm holding. And I would get that death grip on my handle and then feel all the pain and pressure just kind of going into my wrist, up my arm, and into my shoulders. Lo and behold, I started holding my cutter this way. No more pain. I can very easily get through a ton of fabric that I'm cutting. And again, it's the safe, easy, accurate way to go ahead and cut your fabric.
So yeah, but it makes a big difference. Like Melinda said, it relieves all of those pressure points that may have been there previously with it to make it a much more enjoyable and a much more easier way to be able to cut. And then it is really nice. With our straight cutters right now, we do have what we call a magnet feature. So super simple. This is the lever you push here to release that guide. And as you can see, that blade is staying on there. So super simple. Swipe it off. Again, so you can see here, simply hover it over it. You can hear it magnets up right there for you.
You know, in the act of cutting fabric, so many people have accidents. But a lot of people don't talk about the accidents that they have when they're changing their blades. So again, once the blade is released, you can change the blade. You can change what side the blade will be on your cutter, so you can make it right or left-handed. When we go ahead and marry that pin into the blade itself, snap it into place, you can see it, you can hear it, and your blade is back on, ready to go. Our blades have a safety to keep the blade. You're not going to nick yourself, cut yourself. The blade isn't or is going to be exposed based on where you have that setting at. As we're cutting, we just want to marry the guide onto the ruler, and then we'll follow through with our cut. Easy, safe, accurate cuts every time.
You could see how easy it was for Melinda to simply glide that cutter along the ruler's edge, because again, it does have that interlocking system there.
I think what amazes me the most, I'm right-handed, and I cut that very easily with my left hand.
And straight. I don't think I would have been able to do it straight with my left hand.
Yes. So what other goodies do we have, Laura?
Yes, one of them that's really fun, it's a little bit different. It is actually our circle cutter. So it's our 360 circle cutter. It can do anywhere from as small as 2-inch circles out to 12-inch circles. So you can see here, it's gonna give you a perfect circle every time. You don't have to go grab a bowl, a cup, or anything and try and mark it or anything like that. This is the pin that chooses the size circle you're gonna do. You loosen it, and you can choose whatever size you're looking to do. Go ahead and turn it right to tighten it into place once you're ready. This is actually where there is a pin that sits right here. That's what helps hold down on your fabric. And then you can see the blade itself sits right here. And I'm right-handed, so I'm actually gonna put my right hand on where the blade itself sits and bring in my left hand where that pin sits. The reason for that is so that once I'm done, I don't ever have to pick my hand up. And again, that's one of the keys to making a perfect circle without having a niche or anything in it.
One smooth, fluid motion.
Exactly, yeah. So super simple. I'm gonna do that, push the pin down, and then you would simply sit here and rotate it there. And now you can see, boom, I got a perfect circle. And one thing that I love to show really quick here as well, as you can see on this fabric, is it does have quite a few different folds, but with this wide base, you can see it easily glides right over that. So even with those, I still was able to get that perfect circle.
All right, so we've talked about so many things today. We have a few more to talk about. We have our sharpening tools. So here we have our linear sharpener, and then we have our electric sharpener. So many people ask, do they really work? Do they work?
Great question.
The answer is always yes.
So with it, they have a diamond grit stone. The electric one has 2, and the linear one has a long one that sits along one edge of that sharpener.
The electric sharpener will sharpen, the 3 most common size blades, 28, 45, and 60 millimeter. Insert your blade into the sharpener, close it, lock it, and then you'll want to run the sharpener probably for about 20-25 seconds or so. Open it back up, turn the blade over, run it again for about another 25 to 30 seconds. What this does is it sharpens both sides of the blade. Having the double-sided grit stones helps to apply even pressure as the blade rotates in the sharpener, and that's why you have to turn it over. So again, you want to make sure to sharpen both sides. You don't want to under sharpen and you don't want to over sharpen. Both of those things will result in a dull blade.
Yeah.
So Laurel, now go ahead and tell us about our linear sharpener.
Yeah, so this one again uses that same key ingredient. It has the diamond grit stone that runs along one edge of it. So super simple. This one is nice where we say you can go right from cutting to sharpening back to cutting. You don't have to ever remove the blade from your cutter. You would simply pull down whatever safety feature you have. Typically what you're going to do is run it through. It sits on just one side. You can go back and forth. It's going to come down to kind of personal preference on which one you prefer. I find I like to run it through one way. We recommend typically try about 10 to 15 times, and then with this one, because that diamond grit stone does sit on just one side, you want to make sure you rotate it, doing it another about 10 to 15 times. Give it a cut. If you find it's not cutting the way you want, simply run it through again.
Yes.
And we actually have one final thing we want to talk about that actually is a bundle. This is what we call our TrueCut travel kit. It has a little bit of everything all in one for you.
Yes, it starts with a durable, kind of an elegant looking case. It's very strong. You can just feel the materials were well thought in the production of the travel kit. So let's go ahead and take a look inside.
Yes, it has a wonderful array of different things. Again, has a little bit of everything, but allows you to be able to take it on the go.
You know, if you're on a road trip, if you're going to your quilt guild, anywhere, this is a wonderful addition to take with you, and you can work on your projects on the go. So let's look at this. So inside we have an 8-inch ruler, perfect travel size. We also provide the 28 millimeter straight cutter. We do have a little pair of scissors, again, awesome addition. Our seam ripper. We have some writing utensils, chalk pencil, colored pencil, normal pencil. I think my favorite though is going to be this magnet wristband. Laurel,
Yes.
why would anybody want a magnet wristband?
This one is wonderful because it kind of takes us back to that whole on-the-go type thing. So it is a snap bracelet that can sit on your wrist. Boom, look at that, stylish. With your different pins and all that, you can simply still have them right next to you, but you're not worried about losing them or dropping them. It is a fun little thing to have, and again, because it is snap, it will allow it to fit on anybody's wrist.
I've dropped pins in my car before. Yes. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? But a great opportunity to not have those mishaps. So let's see what else we have in this wonderful kit. We have wonderful storage options, so netted mesh, some easy way to secure any of your sewing needs, whether it's fabric or thread, anything else. You have a pencil sharpener. Here's the pins that will easily be held with the magnetic wrist holder. Tell us about this side.
So this is part of where, again, giving you different surfaces to use on the go. I've seen people use this more for when they're piecing, trying to figure out or specifically lay out a particular pattern they're wanting. And then once they're ready and they know the specific design they want, they'll simply pull this up, and it's a sandpaper material. That way, when you put fabric on it, it's not going to slide around. So that's where you can take it and say, hey, I like the design I've created with that smoother side, and I can come in here and pin it together. So wonderful thing, again, super simple, giving you ways to bring the different materials with you on the go. And then it is really fun if we kind of flip it back over to this side. And I love showing this because it's just adorable. But there's a little mini cutting mat, an 8x10 cutting mat. It is just like our larger ones where it is a double-sided mat. And again, it is partially that self-healing.
Has all the markings.
And then something that we did set aside a little bit earlier, but it is this postage stamp. It's just a little pattern. And then we're just saying, you know, once you've had a chance, you know, maybe with this pattern, use the travel kit, send us a little postage, say, hey, look at what I made with this wonderful TrueCut travel kit.
Yes, it is one of our newer products, and I don't think enough people know about it quite yet. Jump onto our website, you can give us a call, place your order for it. If you go online, you will find some awesome bundles.
Yes.
So again, anywhere from rectangle rulers, square rulers, triangle rulers, straight cutters, comfort cutters. You're sure to find something that will suit and fit your needs. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
My name is Macy Kaplan. I am a co-founder of the Loose Ends Project. I live in Maine. I have a background in graphic design and marketing and entrepreneurship, and I've worked with nonprofits most of my adult life, and I love finding meaningful work.
I'm Jen Simonik. I'm a co-founder of the Loose Ends Project. I have a background in education and in science, and I've been a lifelong knitter. And this is just a project that speaks to me with all the things that we do. Just finding the best in people, and I think that's what we do. So it's pretty exciting to be here. Thank you for having us. Macy and I met 25 years ago. The way that Loose Ends happened, Macy's been thinking about it for a while. It's something that all finishers do. A lot of us that do fiber arts are often approached by people who have family members who have passed away, who have done fiber arts, and say things like, I've got this bag and I'd love you to have it because it would mean so much that somebody could have this stuff that my mom was working on. They usually don't know what mom was doing, or they have a slight idea. There's a lot of people who are like, here's a crochet bag, and you're like, oh, that's a lot of knitting. That's, not that it matters. Or here's a box of fabric, and you're like, well, that's actually a quilt top that's almost finished. And Macy had been kicking around the idea, like, I can't be the only person who does this. She finished a couple of things. I've finished sweaters for people. I finished blankets for people. And we were approached by a good friend of ours whose mother had passed away, and were asked to go through the bag. And as we went through it, we found 2 crocheted blankets that had not been finished. And Macy said, I've been thinking about the fact that there's a lot of these projects in the world, and we can't be the only people who do this, and there must be a lot of people who don't know who to go to. And that's kind of how it was born.
Loose Ends works by both project owners and volunteer finishers signing up on our website. So we have forms for either, for both functions. If someone wants to become a volunteer finisher, they can go to the website and fill out a short form. It will ask questions like, what kind of craft do you do? What skill level do you see yourself? What kinds of things do you like to do? And what kinds of things do you not like to do? We get people's information about where they live. That is pretty much it. Filling out the form means you are automatically a finisher.
And our very first project that got finished was also a friend of Macy's and mine. Annie had two sweaters that were made by her mother that had not been finished. Little adorable little cotton sweaters that had little owls on it. And they were she went through the first process of signing up as a project submitter, and we matched her with a finisher. I think at that point we might have had 60 finishers and 5 projects. Annie's, our project finisher was Sarah, and Sarah finished them in record time. And when Annie got them back, it was very emotional, and it was one of those things that was like, okay, we know that this should be in the universe. Look, we made a system to make it in the universe. Oh, it's working! Yay! And since then, it's just kind of blown up. It's been amazing.
The other button on the site is for submitting a project. And in order to qualify to have your project finished, it needs to have been begun by someone who is either deceased or who can no longer do the craft because of compromised health, compromised eyesight. We have projects that come in because people have experienced health problems, cognitive problems, arthritis, vision problems. It's not just for people who are deceased, but it's for crafters who just, for those reasons, can't do their work anymore. And then once the projects come into us, we're able to look at them, see pictures of them, see where they were left off, see the remaining materials, whether or not they were left with a pattern, which sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. And we're able to match the project with the finisher. We first look at geography. And we do that because it's great when people live near each other, and the projects often don't need to even go into the mail, and that saves money. It lowers the carbon footprint, and it helps create community because often people get to meet in real life, which is awesome. And once we look at geography, we then will look at what craft is employed. Is it quilting? Is it knitting? Is it crochet? Is it embroidery? There's a long list of crafts, and as long as they're fiber arts related, we will accept them. And then after that, we'll look at skill level. Sometimes things are elaborate, difficult, complicated projects, and sometimes they're simple. And after that, we look at druthers, inclination, like what kinds of things does this crafter want to do? What kinds of things do they never, ever want to do again, as long as they live? We look at that too, because everybody has preferences. And we just kind of take all of those variables into effect so that everybody has a good experience with this. We have finishers from every state in the US, from every Canadian province. We have more than 8,300 finishers right now. We have finishers in 43 different countries. Because of that, whenever a project comes in from anywhere, we're able to pretty quickly match it to somebody who lives nearby most of the time. A lot of the time, the projects don't need to even go into the mail. There is no charge to have your project finished. All of the people who do the work on these projects are volunteers, and they have signed up to do it for free, just as a gesture of generosity toward another person. toward a stranger. And that's one of the things that we really want to keep, we're holding on to that, because part of the thing that makes this so beautiful, besides just rescuing unfinished projects, is actually this lovely interaction between human beings who don't know each other. Right. And that said, there is often if things do have to go into the mail, there can be a cost associated with that. And that cost does lie on the project owner both ways. A lot of times the finishers and the project owners will be able to meet if they live near each other. They certainly do communicate through email a lot. What Jen and I do are we take all of the variables on both sides and match them up. And once we make a match, we introduce and once the finisher has agreed, yes, this is a project that we'll propose the project to them. And once they look at it and say yes to it, Jen and I will introduce the two people in an email. And at that point, we kind of step away. We're always here for questions. We're here to help solve problems. But at that point, we let that relationship take the forefront and happen. And a lot of times people have met at the end to present the finished project. And that's been really we haven't been there to witness that, but we have received photos of those moments, and they're beautiful, like tearful, lovely stories that have Jen and myself like crying on a daily basis. Like we get to just witness these people who are now kind of bound together forever because they have projects that they're wearing or keeping that are part of their loved one's work and part of the stranger's work together.
One of the first projects that really was very touching is a person had reached out to us and they had just lost their spouse. And it was one of those kismet moments. In the early days, we would go to yarn shop and send and walk in with flyers and explain what we were doing. And people would say, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. And I did that in a local yarn shop. And the next day somebody walked in with a project that they found at their bedside that their spouse was working on. And it was a really sad story because they had lost their spouse way too early. We were able to match them up, and the woman who took the project put a lifeline in. Now with knitting, there's this thing called the lifeline where you take a thread and you capture all the strands that are on the needle, so that if you make a mistake or you have to pull something out, it stops at that lifeline. And we thought, oh gosh, what an amazing story. It's like an amazing thing, because it's where the crafter stopped too. With that particular project, the finisher finished the project, learned a new stitch to do it, really took her time to make sure it was correct and ready. And then there was some yarn left over, and she made a hat to go with the scarf, which was just very touching and lovely, and just such a nice gift. We have a wonderful website. It's www.looseendsproject.org. On that website, you can find a button to become a finisher. And the question we always get is, do you have any finishers here? The answer is always going to be yes, but we need more, because you never know what skill we're going to need in that area. The more, the merrier. You can also download our flyer. We have them on our website in many different languages. That's been another fun part, is we have people who are like, I speak Hebrew. Could you use one in Hebrew? And we're like, sure, that'd be great. And the woman who did that for us said, a lot of our elderly, they only speak Hebrew, and that would be a way to get them to know what's going on. So we currently have, I know we have French, German, Spanish, Hebrew, Czech, because a woman from the Czech Republic came and saw us. So by taking these flyers that are on our website and downloading them, the PDF, and printing them out, or sharing them with your local library, your local funeral parlor, your local senior center, your local school. By putting these up in your neighborhood, if you're a finisher, there's a better chance of getting a project, and it just spreads the word a lot. So that's another way you can help us, is telling people about us and posting on social media about us and downloading our flyers and putting them up in the old school way. And then the last thing is, we do have a GoFundMe set up. We are working on our nonprofit status right now, but in the meantime, we have a GoFundMe because things like server space and email accounts and printing all cost money, and we need donations for that. So we have a donate here button right on the top of our page, and if you donate, you'll get a nice little thank you note from us via email saying thank you. And that's it. That's how you can help us.
We welcome anyone who's interested to sign up to become a volunteer finisher. And if you happen to have a craft from your family or from a friend who left it behind, and it's in something that you don't do yourself, we're happy to accept that and match you with a finisher.
When you get that bag or that project box or that room full of craft that someone's like, please help me, I don't want this to go to waste. It's also that they don't want that person's time and effort to be for nothing, and that's something I think we can all relate to.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to say happy Thursday. So my name is Sandra Lee. My full name is Sandra Lee Chandler, but I go by Sandra Lee Design is the name of my company. And I'm known for denim. Denim, a fabulous fabric. And I'm going to show you all the amazing things you can do with denim. Let's start right now. There I am, Sandra Lee Design. So if you are interested, you can always remember me by that. First, we start out with denim. I know you guys know what denim looks like. Our first slide is going to be a pile of denim. And that's what my inspiration was. I start out with a pile of denim. It could be jeans, it could be jackets, it could be dresses, anything made of denim. And I deconstruct them. Deconstruction is an amazing time where you can think about the actual apparel that you are deconstructing, the person that wore them. Were they a man? Were they a woman? Tall, thin, short, husky, young, old. And then our next slide is going to show you, I take those very, very, very amazing, good zippers, and I take and deconstruct them and save them. Best zippers this side of the Mississippi. Denim zippers are simply amazing. And I always repurpose them into nice handbags, coin bags, zipper pockets, you name it. Our next slide is going to show you perfect points. I know you quilters love those perfect points. And you can actually get perfect points or not, even when you're working with denim. You notice the back side? Yes, I still use a 1/4 inch seam. With steam and special products, you can get your seams opened or seam them and press them to one side. But here's an example of some, not a whole bunch, but some of my perfect points. Our next slide, you never think about this. How about a denim purse? These are pieces of a quilt that did not make it into the quilt. So I repurposed the denim squares into a bag with with a belt that was repurposed into decorative asset to this bag. And the handle is actually a belt. How many of you have those old belts laying around and you don't know what to do with them? Use them for your handles. Our next slide is going to show a close-up of this purse. Do you notice the stitching? Yes, I hand stitch. I know it sounds crazy, but hand stitching is beautiful. And we're going to get into what products I use to hand stitch, what thread, what needles. Do I use a bobbin? Do I not use a bobbin? Do I use a hoop? We're going to talk about all that in our next segments. Now we're going to see a sample of one of my quilts. Isn't this little guy adorable? Yes, he's my little friend, and he helped me hand quilt this quilt. This is one of my patterns. It's called Orange Peel, and every single piece of this quilt was from a pair of jeans or clothing items that I repurposed, cut out, and made into this quilt. If you notice the stitching, the thread that I used here is a Wonderfill thread. It is a 5, and I also used I used embroidery needles along with a thimble. What I did was I echoed the stitch as the curves of the stitching, and I got this amazing, amazing pattern. Our next slide is another pattern that I have. It's called Spinning Wheels. And yes, I hand quilted this one also. This one is also using Wonderfill's pearl cotton thread. If you notice, each piece has a little different shade. And you can actually see a pocket right up there in the corner. I do deconstruct the pockets off, but I leave the print because it's such an interesting print to see that as you look at the pieces that I work with. Our next slide is going to show you, and I'm going to talk about the difference between, and this is also the same pattern, and you can see a close-up here of where all the points got together. I was able to get them to lay down. When I talk about denim, and many people talk about denim's hard, Sandra, how do you get it to lay down? How do you make sure you're cutting on the grain or not on the grain, or do you use stretch or don't you use stretch, and the different weights of denim? All of that can be solved with steam and determination. I don't tend to use any denim that has stretch in it at all. I tend to only use 100% cotton denim fabric. Did you all hear that? I choose. So if you have denim that has some lycra in it or some stretch in it, you can work with it, but it's very difficult. What I don't do is I don't worry about grain lines. I try to get as many pieces cut out of my deconstructed garment as I can. So grain lines are not as important to me because I'm going to piece those together somehow, some way. Our next slide is one of our very traditional quilt patterns. It's called the Lone Star. And this one was done also with all repurposed denim. What I did here was I used the different colors. And when I look at denim and the weights and the color and the thread count and all of that as if it was a line of fabric. You know how you think of a line of fabric? You may have orange, you may have green, you have a large print, we have a small print, you may have a solid. That's what I look when I'm looking at my denim and I've repurposed it and it's in piles. I look at it as a line of fabric. And so what I did here was I used my gray tones in the middle. If you notice in this around or in the center, in the middle of the pattern, I used my lighter denim fabrics. And then at the end, the tips, I used my darker denim. In the corners, what I did was I went back and used my middle shades of blue in the corners of this quilt. I did have the chance to hand quilt it. I have not gotten a picture of that yet. I will. And I also did a little embroidery on this as far as some applique. So stay tuned. You can follow me on social media and you will see the end result of this amazing quilt. Now, my next quilt that I'm going to show you, I decided to mix fabric and denim. This is not repurposed denim. This is denim that I purchased from the fabric store. And the fabric I use is Hoffman's Batiks. Here, what I decided, I was working with hand quilting and machine quilting, along with doing some very simple applique, using some Misty Fuse as my bonding agent. And if you notice, my sewing on my applique, I just did like a little doodle stitch all around the raw edges. Sometimes I went off, sometimes I went on, just kind of giving it a little pop. I wanted to see, can I blend hand quilting, machine quilting, curves, straight lines? I used a variegated thread here to pop, and a heavier weight variegated thread to pop my hand stitching. And I really liked how it turned out. Our next slide is going to show you this same quilt on a bed. The next slide is going to show you what not to do when you're hand quilting. So I made this quilt, and when I got ready to sit down to quilt it, I wanted to use Japanese sashiko stitching. So in between each point, this is a New York Beauty, in between each point, you see the orange stitching. And so I did about 2 of those areas, and then I realized this is going a little slow. And so what I did was, on the 3rd one, I said, I'm going to time this and see how long it takes me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it took me for one little area 8 hours, 8 full hours to mark it and stitch it. And once I had 3 of the sections done, I couldn't stop. I had to go all the way around. So in order to get this all hand quilted and finished, it took me about 40 hours a week, 2 months solid, 5 days a week. And when I was done, I was so done with this quilt. But the next slide will show you why it took me so long. This quilt, it was and is a California king size bed quilt. Can you imagine? What was I thinking? I finished it off by hand quilting the rest of the quilt. And for my satisfaction and my heart, my son-in-law saw this quilt, fell in love with it, and he got it for his birthday. And so now it's actually in Japan, where it gets quite cold and is used very, very, very well in the wintertime. So our next slide, it's all about inspiration. This quilt and the inspiration was, you guessed it, Maya Angelou. This quilt was constructed and designed the year after Maya Angelou passed away. And it was in a show in South Carolina. And the theme of the show was Maya Angelou and her life, and how it had impacted my life as an artist. And when I sat and thought about it, the one thing I could think about is what would demonstrate and what would yell and scream Maya Angelou? What symbol, what word? And I thought of the cage bird. And I thought about her life, and what that cage bird in the book and what the symbolization was. And if you notice, the cages are appliqued on. That's embroidery stitched. So I embroidery stitched around the cages using several different colors of embroidery thread. I also hand wrote 4 poems that are in the white areas, along with the African fabric that I hand appliqued onto the quilt, which would represent her dance steps, because she was a dancer. She was also a poet and an amazing writer. And so for me, this quilt represented her life. It represented the times in her life where she was part of the apartheid, the times in her life when she was in relationships that were not great relationships, the times in her life when she was growing up and bad things happened to her. But all in all, this quilt is a tribute to Maya Angelou. Now our next quilt, the inspiration, when I was about middle school, I was a young girl, and my family, we took a trip around the United States, and I had the opportunity to go and look at the Amish. We went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, was one of the cities that we visited, and I saw their quilts and the simplicity of their quilts. And when I was making this quilt, that's what I thought about, the simplicity, how simple and just peaceful their quilts were. Excuse me. And so this is a modern version of a log cabin. So the center blocks are my interpretation of a very modern, simplistic log cabin. Around the sides of the blocks, that's actually denim that I had purchased. And I wanted to flank those blocks with large pieces of denim because I wanted the simplicity to really echo through the piece. Now I hand quilted this quilt also. Again, repurposed denim in the middle, all hand quilted, and it was amazing. I have a picture of this quilt on a bed, which very much made me feel like I was back in Amish country. But I want to show you the hand stitching on this quilt. Look up close. The next slide is going to show us all of the work. Yes, I hand stitched this quilt. Yes, it was with a embroidery needle. Yes, it is easy to do. I do use a thimble. I do not use a hoop. I typically like to use painter's tape to give me the straight lines that I want. You can see where I've mixed different colors of threads. I have blue, and then I also have white that I used for this piece. And then the next slide is actually going to let you see all the stitching that you can see that you don't see on the front, you actually see on the back of this one. I was very lucky. I actually had used this yellow fabric to back my quilt with, which actually very much highlighted all of the hours of hand stitching. My next slide is going to talk about hand quilting and embroidery. Together, they can live and exist. If you see really up close, the quilts that you're looking at, and there are a couple, two more slides, and we're going to stay on this one for a minute though, but there's two other slides. The colorful stitching is actually a chain stitch, and that's actually embroidery thread, and that's actually done prior to the quilting. So I had the quilt top completed, and then I used embroidery threads that were variegated, and I then used a chain stitch, which is an embroidery stitch, and I went all the way around. Then I decided and tried to figure out how best to quilt this piece without disturbing the pattern. In our next slide, you can see up close and a better view of that chain stitch in that embroidery chain stitch that I did, which rose on top of the denim, which was all repurposed denim. You can also see the hand quilting that I also did. The thread that I used for the hand quilting was actually hand quilting thread. You ask, what's the difference than hand quilting thread and all-purpose sewing thread? Well, hand quilting thread is a thicker thread and stronger thread than your multi-purpose thread that you use for your sewing machines. Hand quilting thread is going to be heavier, but it's still going to be thinner than the actual thread count on denim. So that's why it almost looks like there's dots going up and down the denim. That's because the thread is thinner and it ends up getting buried underneath the actual weave of the denim, of the fabric, because the weave of the fabric the thickness of the threads are thicker, so it ends up getting buried in between. We got another picture, one more slide, and I'm going to show you up close. Yes, can you imagine how small those those chain stitches are? My whole idea was to almost make them look seamless, but yet keep a regular stitch length. What a joy I had stitching this piece. We have one more slide of it. Again, this was fun. Also, if you notice, I tend to finish my quilts without adding borders because many of my pieces like this one are a work of art. So for me, this is a work of art, and I wanted the pattern to extend past my canvas, which is my fabric. When you border your pieces, it stops that pattern. So if you want your patterns to go on and to extend past your actual piece, use just a binding around your piece. My next inspiration comes from Japan. And I happen to be going, I just booked my ticket and I'm ready. I will be going to Japan the last 2 weeks of December and the first week of January. I will be going to Tokyo. So if you want to know more about Tokyo fabrics, threads, what they use, artistry, start following me because I will be in Tokyo, Japan, and a couple other cities around that area the last 2 weeks of December and the first week of January. Very interested. This piece is inspired by boro. If you're not familiar with boro is the term of stitching up and down. In the rice fields, the very poor didn't have the opportunity to go out and buy new clothing. So what they would do is the clothing they had, they would patch it one on top of the other. So you can imagine after patching several times, you're going to get this patchwork look because you're almost going to lose the solid fabric area because you're patching over holes and areas of wear. So this piece was inspired by that. These are denim pieces and linen pieces that I simply hand stitched onto a piece of linen. I thought it came out really well. I was inspired. I have another side of this piece. I love the texture, the stitching, the texture, the rhythm. Even though this quilt is not a pattern as if traditional, but there still is so much pattern in this piece. We have another slide of it up close. My motto is, if you're going to hand stitch, you want people to see every single stitch. So the thread that I used here, I always use thread. Well, I shouldn't say always because God knows you can't do everything always, but I tend to use threads that are going to be thicker than the thread of the fabric that I'm stitching on, because I feel if I'm going to take the time to hand stitch and quilt anything, I want it to show up. So that's my motto. The next slide is an example of the 2 quilts that we've been looking at, along with a bag that I made. Again, what I love about denim is in my pieces, what I want you to see is what I created first. And then I want you to go, that was made with repurposed denim. I hope I'm giving you guys all great ideas of what to do with denim. Are your wheels thinking? Is your head spinning? I know all of us have a pile of denim sitting saying, one day I'm going to do something with this denim. Every single workshop I ever do, it's always full. And there's women that always have great ideas. We have an amazing time at each workshop creating pieces just like this, because this is what it's all about. Creating amazing pieces from garments that were no longer going to be used. Can you see garments that are no longer being used on here? No, this all looks amazing and new. The next slide I'm going to talk about is how you use, oh, here's up close, my stitching the sashago. Again, some of you are going to ask, when do you stitch? Do you stitch before? Do you stitch after? It all depends. The purse, I actually did the stitching first, and then I put the purse together. As you can see, the pattern goes all the way across the purse. What's so funny about this is that strap, it's a repurpose from another bag that I had bought many years before. The bag had worn out, but the strap was perfectly good. So I attached it to this piece, and now it has a new life. Let's transition and let's talk about color. Here's a quilt that I used black denim and light and medium color blue jean denim repurposed to accentuate the pattern itself. But my secondary is the pockets. The secondary pattern is the pockets that you see the imprint, almost as if I stamped those pockets on there. Isn't that amazing to see something like that? I think it's absolutely so cool that you can get so much out of so little. Our next slide is going to show you this quilt in its entirety. So you can see, I even ran out of the dark black denim, and all I did was use and added in the gray. And it still gave me that same look, that same feeling. So think about your denim that you're collecting. Don't discount anything. Everything is up for grabs. You're going to look at denim a whole new way. You're going to start looking around your house, and God forbid you have a husband or a girlfriend or grandkids. What I don't do anymore is use children's jeans. I have found for me, and this is just my opinion, it takes me just as long to deconstruct a child's pair of jeans that it does a adult's pair of jeans. And with a child's pair of jeans, you can imagine it's a child. Most children are pretty thin and tall. They're not going to give you very much fabric. So the two things that I kind of no longer do is I don't use denim that has any stretch, and I tend to not use children's jeans because they're too little. Unless you have a child that wears an adult size, then I say go for it. Our next quilt is one of those quilts where you're like, I just want to do something simple. I want to go back to traditional half square triangles. I know you all love half square triangles. I love a good half square triangle and a good square. That's what this piece is all about. But look how I use my colors, the different colors of my denim. I have dark denim, I have medium dark, I have medium light, I have all types of denim. I left my pockets. My pockets are along the border. This quilt, I did put a border in, but my border is to add to my pattern, I believe. And so if you notice on each side of the border, there is a pocket imprint. Yes, I hand quilted this one also. And it too was an amazing, amazing time in my life. My next slide. Again, this one is a very abstract. So, and look how large. So for this one, very abstract, half square triangles, squares, but there's one thing different. Look at the binding on this one. I know that traditionally quilters do a binding of what? 1.5, 2, 2.5. This binding was 5.5 inches. I know. That is not in the book. That is not how quilters quilt. But my whole idea was, how big is big and how big is too big? And I really just wanted to see what it would do and what would happen and how it would affect the quilt itself. So I took and made a very large binding. I think it turned out really well. And I also was looking at the scale, binding scale to the pieces, the actual blocks. And that's what I really concentrated on. So you can do it. You can do a wider binding. It can work. I am living proof, right? All right, so we're talking about denim, but we're talking about hand stitching too. And the next slide, I'm gonna show you how I integrated Japanese sashiko stitching. Yes, that's all hand stitched in the middle with some jelly rolls for a very simplistic look. This piece reminds me of the ocean. See at the bottom, there's the ocean, and then the sunset is at the top. And so that's what I was inspired by when creating this piece. Our next piece was actually in a show for Road to California. I don't know if you all are knowledgeable of that quilt show. It's in Southern California, and they had a exhibit. And the exhibit, they wanted quilts that dealt with dark and lightness. And they talked about dark and how when you're in a room, a dark room, and you turn a flashlight on, how that one flashlight can literally light that room. And so when I was thinking of dark and light, what came to me and what I was inspired by was the idea of being on the African plain and literally having the sun come up as you walk. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm going to get an early start, and maybe you walk around your neighborhood, and when you get up, it's kind of gray. And then as you walk, and as the sun gets closer and closer to rising, the path that you're on, the grayness goes from the sky all the way down to your feet. And I thought about walking on the African plain and that sun and the rays, and a family walking early in the morning, how the sun would start really, really small, and then it would illuminate. The denim around the sides, you can see I use denim as a natural fabric that is indigo dyed on the continent of Africa. All of this piece was actually dyed, hand dyed by myself, along with the sun that actually is beading, that I beaded going out on the rays. The quilt underneath this quilt is actually called Maggie Squares, and we're going to see more of that quilt in a couple of slides. Next slide is a close-up of this quilt. That's my little family. You can see the beading. So if you're thinking about, ooh, can I bead a quilt? If it's an art quilt, absolutely. Bead it, and you will have an amazing, fun adventure. My next quilt, I used whole cloth denim. And this quilt I was challenged by, I appliqued the pieces on top, and I wanted to see, could I hand quilt a quilt without marking it? I just wanted to know, can you hand quilt a quilt without marking it? Or do you have to mark it? So what I did was I started quilting around the applique pieces, and I kept going until they hit another element. And then I filled in the center. The fabric I use, you can go to the next slide. The fabric I use is a Hoffman Batik. Oops. Sorry, guys. Batik. And then I also use different sizes of pearl cotton. So I used an 8, a 5, a 12. And I used solid. I also used threads that were ombre. I stayed in the pink and the green and the white families, but you can see how close my stitches are. None of it was marked. It was all done just by stitching. My next slide We're now going to go into how big is too big or how big is big. What I did was a traditional quilt block in the center, and I just blew it up. I was like, let's just see how big we can make this. I used batiks. I used denim, but the denim that I used on this one was not repurposed. This was denim that I purchased from the stores. I wanted to see the balance between the color and the denim. Denim tends to be almost like a black. It really sucks the color out of anything that it's around. So when you're working with denim, remember that any color that you are working with, it's going to be pretty much diluted with what you're doing. The next slide goes into, and you can see it even more. These colors, I mean, the batiks that I used were pretty bright. I mean, these were not, you know, your muted, dormant fabric boutiques. But because of the scale, size, and because of the denim, the colors tended to mute out a little. Our next few slides are a wow factor. This is a pattern that I designed. It's all made out of squares and half square triangles. It's made out of all repurposed denim, and it's my most popular repurposed denim workshop. Women and men love this pattern. You can either make one block or you can make 3 blocks and a table runner. You could make a throw, or you can make a queen, king, or queen, twin, queen, or king size belt. The next slide is going to show you, here is the actual quilt in a California king size. Simply amazing. I love this pattern. What I love about this pattern is I love the secondary pattern that came about from the original pattern. What I also love about this pattern is it's extremely simple, and it lends to so much creativity. Many times when I'm teaching this quilt, my students will add fabric in. So it's not all denim. They will add fabric into the blocks that will give it an even more diverse feeling. Our next square, we're going to show it on a bed. Look at there. Doesn't that look simply amazing? I love the fact that it gives a modern feel, but it gives an old feel. I have it dressed up here. It's kind of Southwestern. I don't know about you all, but depending on your mood, this quilt could literally change your feeling about the room. It's all repurposed denim, and I hand quilted it. The next slide, you're going to see the hand quilting. I know, you won't believe it. Yes, I hand quilted the whole thing. The whole thing, hand quilted, my little fingers, my hand. It took me about 3 months. I did about 20 hours a week. And I break it down by rows. I'll say, you know, I can do 1 row in a week. And that's kind of how I pace myself. I decide how much I can do in a week. The thread is Extravaganza Wonderfeel. It is their ombre. It's a blue and a gold. Sandra, why blue and gold? Well, what I wanted with this quilt was I wanted you to see the quilting at times, but at times I didn't want the quilting to overshadow the pattern. One thing I'm always thinking about when I'm designing and I'm working with anything, I'm always thinking about what is somebody, the viewer, going to see up close, meaning a couple inches away? What are they going to see 12 feet away? What are they going to see 24 feet away? What do I want them to see? What do I want them not to see? And how do I want my piece to make them feel? I wanted to bring up something, and then I want them to read the label and know what it brought up with me. Our next slide is going to show you what the pillows look like. You notice here I used orange. How many of you guys would jump off and use orange? It's a red-orange thread that I used, and I think it works fabulous. Again, when we think about color and we think about stitching, you really can't go wrong. My next view is a quilt. One of my first actual ever quilts that I made 100% from denim. You notice the labels over there? I saved my Levi labels and put them back on this quilt. This quilt was made from denim that I had been saving for years. Again, I wanted you to see the pattern and then realize it was repurposed denim, pairs of jeans. Each row is stitched in a different Japanese indigo or Japanese shibori, Japanese sashiko stitch pattern. And I think it turned out fabulous. The binding is actually a striped denim fabric that I purchased from a fabric store. The next slide will show you the quilt. And I just love the look of it. It reminds me of the redwoods and the redwood forest. Our next slide, I think we are going back to hand quilting and using quilting thread. If you notice, this quilt gives you a very flat and very stitched look because I used threads that were thinner than the actual thread in the weave of the denim. So it's going to give you a very, very, very textured look. Our next slide is a combination of two of our quilts we've already seen and one other quilt that was done with denim as the border. And the border, they were blocks, and I cut the border from a diagonal of the blocks. So the blocks were in a row, horizontal and vertical, but I cut the border on a diagonal, which what it did was it gave you a lot of movement. It gave me a lot of movement with this quilt. So you can mix fabric and denim. Our next quilt is a quilt our next slide is one that we've already seen, but I think you can see the magnitude of the large binding that I talked about. Thimbles. I do use one particular thimble that I've used. I went through probably about 50 thimbles till I found the perfect thimble that will not allow a needle to go through it, that lasts forever. I sell them on my website. They are 2 layers of sheepskin, and I truly adore my thimble. As far as thread, I use a lot of, I love Wonderful threads, but I also, for embroidery, sometimes and many times, I will use Weeks Dye Works, and she has an amazing array of fabric or of thread, embroidery threads that are hand dyed. And I enjoy her colors, the intensity of the colors and the variety of the colors. Next slide, we're going to see up close. So for you all that love and all say that denim is too hard, it's hard to get the points, I would say it's a technique that once you get it down, you can get the points. You can get the perfect points. I think it's practice makes perfect is what we've all been told. And many times we don't believe it, but it really does. And here is this example of how I was able to get the points when working with, what is that, 8 pieces of fabric. One thing that I do that I think really helps is I open my seams up. I do shorten my stitch length when I'm working with denim, but I open my seams, I press my seams open, and I feel that that really works for me well. The next picture is a picture of a quilt that we've seen. Here's that log cabin. Okay, and our next one, we're going to skip that one because we've kind of talked about that one, but our next one is a quilt that really warms my heart. This one was done, I don't know if you all can remember back to Sandy Hook and those little kids and the shooter that came in Colorado or not Colorado, I'm sorry, Connecticut, and shot up that school, those little kids. And this was actually a quilt that was in a show the year after that incident happened. And it talked about peace and what would peace look like in this world. And here's a picture of this quilt, and it's not a great picture of the quilt, but what I did was I took the continents and I made them with denim, and I appliqued them on a piece of white or a piece of blue fabric that I had indigo dyed. And then I took signs that I felt were universal peace signs. The heart, a universal peace sign. The yin and yang, a universal sign, along with the peace sign itself. And I thought, if our countries could literally be joined together with these signs, that's what universal peace would look like. I hand appliqued all of the pieces down, and I hand quilted. You can see in the water there, I used different colors of blue to give you the movement of the water. And I love this piece. Again, it was in South Carolina at a show probably about 15 years ago. Peace on Earth. Our next slide, we go back to improv. And what I did here was I did a lot. I know you guys probably have tons of fabric pieces sitting around, and so do I. So I had all these fabric pieces sitting around. I just sewed them together, and what I call making fabric. So I sew all the pieces together, then I take and cut out my pattern pieces from the pieces that I've sewn together. So here I took and cut out some half square triangles, some squares. I took my denim, I took my improv pieces, I sewed them together. I just wanted something that was real simplistic. Then I went off, and yes, I hand quilted all of this. Looks like white. So I know what you're thinking. Sandra, what do you do with all those pockets? Well, the next slide shows you. You make a circle. So what I did was, and I'm showing you the size of this is with those little shoes, like they're like little 1-year-old, toddler shoes. What I did was I took all the pockets and I actually hot glue gunned them down on a circle. And at the time, my daughter was a 6th grade teacher, and she used this circle like a rug, and it was the reading rug, the reading area. So when children wanted to read a book, they would go over there and lay on this and read a book. They enjoyed it immensely. So save those pockets. The next slide is one of my favorite quilts that I've ever made. And again, I think it's the process is what gets me my energy. The process is what makes me happy. The process of making this quilt, because it was made from repurposed denim, and these were all the squares that did not make it into another quilt. These were the reject pieces. With my reject pieces, I was able to create this piece. And the joy that these pieces made it, and they were no longer the background, they were the leading attraction. Here is this quilt on a table. I know, I was crazy. Look at the stitching. How did you stitch all of that? I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. I did it. I don't know. Okay, so the next slide is just a piece of scraps of denim. When you're repurposing, sometimes you get pieces that you don't know what to do. I, again, made another reading circle for my daughter. Now we're going to go into a couple of the accessory things that I do with denim. Here's a jacket that I made out of denim. Here's another jacket that I made, the next slide, out of denim with some hand stitching. The next slide is actually a quilt poncho that I made out of Australian fabric, but inside it's lined with denim. You can also make clothing. The next slide shows some clothing items made out of denim. It's a top, and then I did some hand sashiko embroidery on that. And then my last but not least, we got a couple more slides, but look what happens when you have half square triangles. You can make a top out of them. I love wearing this top. And you notice the little blue tag? That's the Levi tag right there in the corner. The next one is, this is a piece, I did a workshop and I had some students. I was up in Vermont, and this is one of the pieces that the workshop was all about hand stitching. The next slide is that two-piece denim outfit that I showed you, and that's up close, the hand stitching. Do you see a theme here? Hand stitching. I love it. It's better than therapy. The next piece you're going to see is a dress I made. And so what I did was I took one half of the bodice, did some hand stitching. This is denim. Yes, it's denim. It's denim fabric. The next slide you're going to see is a jacket. We all have denim jackets. We all have something we want to do with those denim jackets. Here, what I did was I took some hand stitching. I put it in the yoke of the jacket and down the center back of the jacket. And yes, it made an amazing difference. And just, a denim jacket. My next slide are a pair of overalls. I don't know about you guys. I love my overalls. I have them on today. They are so easy to wear. They're relaxing. I get so many compliments from these overalls. It cracks me up because I think it just shows you how people perceive perceptions and their memories. And overalls, everybody has a good memory of overalls. Nobody has a bad memory of overalls. I did patching with other pieces of denim and fabric, all hand patched, all hand stitched on this pair of overalls. And then what I did was, once they started wearing out, the patches started wearing out, you can see how the fabric's starting to wear on one leg up at the top. So then what I did was I pulled off the patches and I cut them into short overalls and I added new patches. So now I have a pair of short overalls with patches, because you can't just repurpose one time. I believe in multiple repurposing situations. Our next slide, we're going to go into my bomber jackets. I'm also known for these amazing, easy workshops that I do with bomber jackets. Let's check out the denim sleeves. This is the easiest pattern these are lined. There's 5 pattern pieces to the whole jacket. And I love putting denim sleeves to the side, to the jacket. My next slide is I used a vintage quilt that I got from an estate sale. This was the reject quilt that nobody wanted. It's all hand quilted. It's amazingly pieced. And what I did was I put my denim sleeves to give it to update the look. Our next slide is going to show you the back of the jacket. Now, you're going to say, Sandra, why didn't you put one of those baskets right in the middle? Because what I wanted to do was, I personally like to do the unexpected. By putting a basket right in the middle would be the typical, and that would be the expected. By flanking my baskets right and left, it gives you the unexpected, and it takes and changes the focus of the back of the jacket. Next slide, you're going to see a wraparound dress. And of course, there's that top again. This was when I was on, this show was called, what is it called? Quilting Arts. I actually was on the show, and I was showing some of my denim repurposed clothing. We have another slide of, now there's a funny story on this slide. So here is the skirt, and let's go to the next slide. You can actually see the skirt better. Okay, so see this skirt? Okay, this is probably, I'm probably the only person that this happens to. I had this quilt. It actually was a quilt, and it was on my bed one winter, but I had hand quilted it, but I had not put the binding on it. So it was a quilt. It was all quilted, but it hadn't been no binding. And that winter, I used the whole winter. And by springtime, I was like, I don't really like this as a quilt. So what I did was I took then and made it into clothing items. And so I took a quilt that was not completely done. I upcycled it to a skirt and some other quilting items or some other wearable art items. So you can pivot. That's what I'm trying to say. It's okay to pivot. We all can pivot. Our next slide are going to be some of the bags that I've made with some denim and stitching. And then another bag that I made, the next slide, is also all hand quilted. The belt is repurposed denim. I mean, sorry, the belt is my handle. That's a belt I got from the thrift store. I am a thrifter. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to show you another slide. Here's another one of a purse that I made. You notice the belt is a belt, or the handle is a belt. And then the next slide, everything there was repurposed from denim or from a belt or another purse. What do you do with those tiny items of denim that you have left, or pieces of denim? You make, next slide, coasters. Yes, Christmas is coming up. What do you give that neighbor next door that you say hi to, but you really don't know, or the postman? You can make some denim coasters. I love this idea. Then the next thing, next slide. What do you do with your old little scraps? Make an Easter bunny. Now the bunny was not made out of denim. This slide I snuck in there. This is actually Japanese indigo fabric and shibori dyed. And it's just to remind you that I'm going to Japan, Tokyo. And you all need to follow me. I'm going to be bringing back some amazing treasures. Again, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. My next two slides are just a couple magazines I've been in. I've been in a couple issues of Simply Modern. Great magazines. It's out of Paris. The next slide is Quilt Now. I've been in a couple of their editions. I've also been published in quite a few other magazines. And my last but not least slide brings us back to quilting with denim. It is possible. It is enjoyable. You just need to remember and know the techniques. We all can be amazing denim designers. All it takes is a little bit of technique and some time. All right, it's time for questions. Questions. I know you guys all have questions. Behind me are a couple of my pieces that I've just finished. What needle size do you use to hand stitch on denim? So I tend to use embroidery needles, but I will use Sashigo needles. Sashigo needles, though, are a thicker needle. So when you're trying to go through weaves that are tight, it's going to be harder. So I really love my embroidery needles the most. I do like my tulip needles, but I'm not opposed to some other brands of needles. Next question. So on the back of my quilts, what I tend to use are fabrics that are like the lighter weights. So like your chambrays, I will use a vintage cotton, 100% cotton sheet. I will use anything that's light, anything that's lightweight. But none of you guys have asked me yet what I use for batting. So for batting, I love to use wool batting. Is lightweight. It's warm in the winter and it's cool in the summer. and it presses down and it's not heavy. So wool is my preferred. I will use a cotton poly because again, it's going to be a thinner, but when you use cotton, cotton has memory. So when you fold your quilts, you got to remember you're going to have some creases. So I love wool the most, but if I can't get wool, because y'all are all trying to use wool now, sometimes I have to go to a cotton poly batting. Well, thank you very much. I hope I inspired all of you guys. Again, please start following me. I'm Sandra Lee Design, no S. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and I have my own website, sandraleedesign.com. Yes, I love to have comments. I do a lot of workshops dealing with indigo. I'm getting ready to do a mud resist shibori indigo dye workshop. It's fabulous. It's so much fun and you can't make a mistake. Any other questions? No questions? Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Thank you, thank you, thank you again for inviting me. Thank you for being here. I hope I inspired all of you guys. Pull out that denim, get ready, wear it, reuse it, upcycle, upcycle, upcycle until you can't upcycle anymore. That's all I have for you. I hope everything is going great for your day and make it a fantastic weekend. See you soon. Okay.
Inspired. I have, old denim jeans and, just a lot of pieces, that I feel more confident and would want to repurpose that material and just, not let it stack up and, just be in the way or get rid of it.
And it feels more forgiving. Like maybe I can make some more mistakes and it's still gonna look pretty good.
Right, right, yes. So I'm super excited for today's, just the whole Fall Festival event, but specifically today, I was really excited to watch the denim part. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that this year's theme of quilting in style, quilting in fashion, has just been amazing. All these new ideas that I never thought of before.
And it's funny, going to quilt shows, we see people all the time, just kind of, with their cute bags, their little jackets, just different things. And it's like, with the theme, and especially, just watching everything, it's like I'm totally inspired. And want to make something that I can actually wear. I never quite thought about, quilting something to wear. But now I'm totally a believer.
And I think it will be faster, right? Because a big king size quilt takes forever.
Yes, well it can. Yes, definitely, definitely. So today, again, I just want to know, in the comments, especially pertaining to our last session with our keynote speaker, what are you inspired to make maybe with some old denim scraps? Let's see those comments. So I told you, I'm excited, whether I'm making a bag, whether I'm making a cute little jacket with scraps. But tell me, what are you guys excited to make with some of your denim scraps?
Oh, coasters, yes.
Coasters.
We were just talking off screen and we think those pockets would make amazing coasters.
Yes.
Right? Use those pockets of the back of the jeans.
Yes, yes. A couch throw, that'd be cute.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. What else? A bag.
I'm thinking the same. I want to make a bag.
Yes, her bags were totally cute.
They're
too.
very cute.
So, yes. All right. What about you, Julie? What are you inspired to make now?
Well, I really like the idea of the bag.
Okay.
Add some really cute handles, some buckles. I really think that I would like to do that.
And I thought it was so creative that she used a belt as the purse strap.
Yes.
So loved the idea. Loved the idea. So aside from being inspired, what you would make with your denim scraps, go ahead and tell us, what projects are you currently working on as well? Dying to hear.
Yep.
We're getting kind of in that season.
It is. It's holiday season. What are you working on? What
Yep.
kind of Christmas presents are you getting ready?
So I see a stocking.
Yeah, stockings.
Reversible. Ooh, that's a good one. A reversible hat.
That's cute.
Yes. Yes. All right. Wonderful.
Christmas quilt. Yes. We need to see some pictures, guys. Send us some pictures.
Yes, we love pictures. Speaking of projects that you're working on, don't forget about our fantastic Fall Festival deals. Take a look at our website, to help you finish your projects quicker, faster, easier. We have the tools to help you succeed. So again, don't forget taking a look at our items. Also look at and see if we have dealers that are near you. You
yes.
get, oftentimes get the same pricing, phenomenal pricing with your local dealers right there. And they offer amazing support as well.
Well, yeah, and don't forget, when you go through your dealer, you've got someone in your neighborhood, someone who wants you to succeed, someone who's going to help you with your machine, with your quilting, with your supplies. So look for a dealer near you. If you don't have one near you, reach out to us. We'll find one for you.
Yes, yes. You know what? I did this last weekend, Julie.
What did you do?
I pre-ordered the Little Rebel. Finally.
Did ya?
It was extended. So pre-orders for the Little Rebel extended through November 5th. Super, super excited about that. So if you haven't pre-ordered, get those pre-orders in. I heard through the grapevine, pricing on the Little Rebel is going to go up.
It will. Yep.
Yep. So regular MSRP pricing. So get it while it's hot.
It's time to get into it now, especially with these cool bundles. We will not have the bundles after the everything is released. So you want to get those bundles at these amazing prices while you can.
Yes, yes. Now, I'm a firm believer, anything that I'm researching to buy, I'm going to look at reviews.
Oh, yes.
And I know so
reviews.
many other people out there do that. So just as a reminder, if you are using Grace products, TrueCut products, don't forget to leave us a review of the items you've purchased.
We want to know. We want to know the good and the bad. We want to know the good so we can pat ourselves on the back. And we want the bad so we can make it better. We want to be able to hear it all, guys. So don't hold back. Give us your reviews.
Yes, exactly. Now, I know I historically wait until Giving Tuesday to make donations to local charities, but I have found I've made a couple small donations to Loose Ends over the course of the last year. So a wonderful charity. I highly encourage you, take a look at their website. Make a donation if you can. Phenomenal work that they're doing.
Sign up to be a finisher, guys. I mean, you've got the talent, you've got the products. Do that, help out. Again, it doesn't have to be someone who's passed. It can be Aunt Betty that just cannot sew anymore. Her arthritis is so bad that she can't do it. Finish those quilts. Give her something that's hers.
Right.
And let her use it instead of just in a corner waiting to be done. Give her that finished quilt.
Yes, exactly. I have told several people if I had more time, I would do it. But maybe one day I'll have more time, right?
I'm not good enough. I don't think that they want my help yet.
Don't sell yourself short, Julie.
And remember, you can go to their website. It's looseendprojects.com.
Yes. Take a look.
Oh, I'm sorry, .org. Sorry, that came up right as I said that.
LooseEndsProject.org. Yes. Take a look, donate if you can. You don't have to wait until Giving Tuesday. You can donate anytime throughout the year. So I feel like we've talked about a lot already. But redirecting people back to our Facebook, our TikTok, our YouTube. Give us a like, give us a follow. Share those pages with your friends and family. Where the quilting community is so fabulous. There's tons of support, not only from Grace Company, but from people from all over the place. You can connect, get new ideas, you know, even get support, you know, with some things that you may need some help with. Just a phenomenal community.
It is.
So don't
I love
forget.
that. When I don't know how to do something, I jump on one of these platforms. You guys, someone's going to have the answer out there.
Yes, somebody will. Somebody will. Yes. So again, don't forget to like, follow, share, and you know, just help spread the word. So now we do have a brand new platform. Do you want to?
Right. Yes. So etchtogether.com.
Yes.
So just remember, if you've missed any segments, if there were some of our segments that were part 2, just remember, go to etchtogether.com. You can see part 2, anything that you've missed for our fall festival, and all of our future shows, Tuesdays with Grace, our little spiels, our trailers, all the fun stuff is going to be on etchtogether.com.
You know, one thing I have found to be very helpful is there's exclusive content on Etch.
Yes.
So never
Our ambassadors,
seen.
yep.
Yep. So
They're
nothing
making
that's
some
been
good
aired.
stuff.
Yes. Yes. So make sure you know, to go to that Etch platform, register, sign up, and you'll be golden. So what else do we have today? So we. I think it's time for bingo. I think we need a giveaway.
Let's do it.
Or-
Let's be honest, guys. That's what you're here for right now, right?
The prizes. Always the prizes. Always the prizes.
All right, let's do some bingo. So our first question is, if you signed up to help finish a quilt on loose ends, how do you know if you've been accepted?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one. So we'll give it just a second for the answers to come in.
They mentioned it in their segment, but if you sign up to be a finisher, how do you know if you're accepted?
Yes.
We're close, but she mentioned it, guys. There we go. All right, let's roll and see what we're going to win today.
All right. Ooh, I always forget what way is the easiest way. So we have a yellow. Want to tell us the prize options?
Yes, so my favorite, the circle cutter. The circle cutter is my absolute favorite TrueCut. And you know why it's my favorite?
Oh, well, yeah. So circle cutter, yes.
Oh, yes. So my favorite is the circle cutter because it took me so long to figure out how to do it.
Really?
Yes, and now that I know how to do it, and I make perfect circles and half circles, now it's my favorite. I drag it out all the time. Want to show everybody, go to an event. You guys, you come down to Houston this year, you'll just see me circling away.
Well, I don't have to go far to see that every day, but no, I love the circle cutter as well. Super simple. You know, it makes the circles less intimidating to be able to want to quilt with. There's tons of fun projects to be done with circles. All right, so let's go ahead and find those correct answers.
All right,
Yes.
Amber Witt from Facebook. You're right, you just need to fill out the form. If you sign up, you're accepted.
Yes, phenomenal, phenomenal.
Yes.
All right, perfect.
All right, and for our next platform,
Oh, one more. We have to be on top of it.
Ooh,
Another
okay.
yellow. So we have another option.
Yes, what is
for
that?
yellow. So it's a 4-pack of the variegated threads.
Oh,
I love our variegated
they're
threads.
beautiful.
They are. They are. Okay, so who was chosen as our next winner? Greta Sabel. If I butchered that last name, I apologize. But correct, if you sign in, you are in.
Exactly. You don't have to go through, you don't have to prove that you can quilt and sew.
Yes.
You're in. I guess I still have hope.
Yeah, you do. You do. So, all right. Now
right,
we have
one
one
more
more.
time.
Wow. Another yellow.
All
Wow.
right. So,
So-
should we do rock, paper, scissors on which prize?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, so
okay. Ready?
Let's see. Oh, scissors.
Oh,
Scissors,
you guys,
cut paper.
4-pack of variegated thread
Yes.
is the winner.
Yes. All right. So these are final.
All right, Angie E. off of our
Congratulations,
website.
all of our winners.
Yes.
So we're super, super excited. And we have one more giveaway. So this is our daily giveaway. All right, and for all of our winners, make sure you send an email to Allegra, Allegra, at graceframe.com to let her know you won today's prizes. And then, of course, provide your name, address, so we can get those prizes shipped right out to you. So again, daily giveaway.
All right, what's today's giveaway?
So today's daily giveaway is our TrueCut Sharpener Combo. So it's the linear and electric sharpener. Fantastic bundle. I love both of those sharpeners.
I do love both of those.
So,
and you can loan one to Aunt Larry.
Wow.
Uncle Larry. Well, there could be an Aunt Larry.
There could be. Yeah, could
We're not
be.
judging. Aunt Larry. You can loan the sharpener and you can keep the electric sharpener for yourself, right?
Or vice versa, yes. So our daily giveaway, these are our registered, people registered for the event. So let's take
do a
a
drum
peek.
roll.
Let's do a drum roll. Ooh. Who is our winner?
Ooh, Heidi McFadden. Congratulations.
So, all right, so just remember, all of our winners, send an email to Allegra at graceframe.com. Our last winner, Allegra, will be reaching out to you directly. But again, our bingo winners, make sure to send those emails to Allegra. All right.
All right, we're running out of time.
We are. They're in the background saying, okay, wrap up. Short segment. Bittersweet, but we hope you enjoy the rest of today's fall festival segments.
Right, stay tuned. Next, we interviewed a bunch of the Grace employees on their favorite quilts from the Fall Festival Quilt Show.
I love, whether it's Fall Festival, Spring Fling, going through all the quilts in the quilt show.
It is. And you guys,
People
we
are
have
so
deep
talented.
discussions about these in the sales
Yes.
department. And some get a little heavy because we argue over which one is the best and which one.
And why.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So we hope you, everybody else has enjoyed the quilts as much as we have. We'll take it away to our Grace colleagues with their top picks from the quilt show.
All right. Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Corey Burrows. I'm the e-commerce strategic development manager here at the Grace Company. The quilt that I chose is Goat by Marcia Peterson. The reason I chose this quilt is, one, I really like the outdoors, and this one has the mountains and the goats and everything in it, so I really like that. I also just really like the colors in it, the blues and the grays. Blues and grays are very comforting colors, so I really like those. And then I also just really like the pattern that she chose for the background. It kind of ties in everything really well with kind of the triangle shapes in the quilt itself, and then all the triangles and the design with the stitching. So I just think everything is tied together really well, and it looks really good. I like that they're kind of abstract. Growing up, I used to go in the mountains literally every weekend. I grew up in the country up in Idaho and doing photography, and especially doing wildlife photography was always my favorite. So I would say great job. You look like you have a lot of skill in what you're doing, and I'd love to continue to see what you come up with next.
Hi, I'm Catherine, and I am in the sales department here at Grace Company, and I am so excited to be able to tell you my favorite quilt for the quilt show this time. My pick was Posies, and there was a couple of reasons why I really love this quilt. The first reason was the colors. My two favorite colors are pink and orange, and this quilt, as I was going through them trying to decide which ones I like, had both of those colors on it. So I also am a huge gardener, and the flowers on this quilt are so beautiful. They're in the pinks and the oranges, and reminds me of a sunset, and it makes me feel warm. Then when I looked at the quilting on it, she had also quilted the flower pattern, which just is another thing I love is flowers. And then when I was reading the header, she had made it for her new grandbaby, and I just had a new grandbaby too. So I felt like I bonded with this quilter with the love of everything that I love, color and warmth and flowers and ground babies. I don't know why I love sunsets so much, but I do love the beach, anywhere with a beach. And usually when you're on a beach, you're there and you can see the sunset and it's just beautiful. And I love just being in the warmth of a sunset, even if it's cold outside. The detail of the flowers that she quilted on it sets it apart. And it's just different because it was kind of a panel, and then she made it look even more beautiful by the quilting that she did. Congratulations on your new ground baby, and that quilt is gorgeous. I loved it. Thank you for letting us see it and enjoy it.
Hey, my name is Jared Krasnoznik. I'm an account executive here at the Grace Company, so I work with our customers and also our dealers closely to support them with our product and information. I also do some videos here as well. So the quilt that I chose is by Patricia Timmons, and that's what she put as the name of it, but I looked a little bit closer through the pictures and it looks like it's actually called Evelyn's Neighborhood. And this quilt has a little bit of a bittersweet story. Her mother, she was making this for her mother, I believe, who is 90 years old. And her mother passed away 10 days before her birthday, and she was making this quilt for her birthday. So that's a very sad story. But this quilt is absolutely beautiful. I have no doubt her mom would have loved this quilt. I really love the colors on it. That's what really stood out to me, is all the colors, the blues and the oranges. I believe there's some browns too, and the birds and the design. All of it is just really cute, and it really screams fall to me. And another part of why I like it is because when I was growing up, we used to have a little like Halloween town we would set up that had lights on the inside of it, and it kind of just reminded me of that, of seeing that up on our mantle. I always loved looking at all the little details through there, so this kind of gave me the same sort of feeling, very homey, very cozy. And I know a lot of quilts some are meant to be used and some are meant to be more decoration, but this one definitely makes me want to take it and wrap it around myself, because I know it looks super cozy, and I hope the Patricia, she can do that and remember her mom. Again, the colors are just really fantastic, and the design overall is just really great. I really love it. I really like the blues and the oranges, and just like the fabric choice in general. It's more something not specific I can really put my finger on, but just more of like a general feeling I get from it. It just feels really great to look at. One thing I really liked was the birds. That was one little thing I saw, the detail. The tree of the birds is probably one of my little favorite parts, but all the houses are great too. But when I saw this one, I was like clicking tabs and putting them out to go between a few ones. But once I found this one, there was kind of hard between some other ones, but once I found this one, I was like, yeah, no, this is gonna be the one. I really just kind of knew. I kept looking just to make sure, but I was like, yeah, no, that's the one that I'm gonna choose. So I would say I'm really sorry for your mom's loss, but it's a gorgeous quilt, and I'm sure she would be proud of it, and also be very appreciative and thankful for the gift. And I'm glad that you have this quilt to remember her by. And a really good job on the colors and the whole design.
Hi, I'm Julie Slesser, and I am an account executive here at the Grace Company. And for my quilt pick, I chose my Mini Diva in the Chic Decor. She is a 10-inch wall hanging, and the reason that I love her so much is she is me. She has crazy hair, crazy clothes. Her shirt matches her glasses. She's got her bags packed ready to go on a quilting retreat. She's got her scissors laying on the ground and thread. She's crazy. She's vibrant. She's funky. Her shirt matches her glasses. She's got a cute little bow in her hair. You can just tell that she's vibrant and alive. I also love on the wall hanging the radiance, all the lines that come away from her. It just makes you feel more of her emotions, that she's just a wacky, crazy girl, and she's so excited to quilt. Like I said, she's got her zebra print suitcase. She's ready to go on that quilt retreat. She just feels so alive to me. And I think that makes me feel like that's how I am. And then of course, the border around is green, my favorite color. I love that it kind of outlines her, that just spotlights her more. And then the crazy lines on the edges of her piece is just another testament to how crazy this woman is. The whole piece just shows the emotions of this woman, that she's flighty, she's vibrant, she's eccentric, she loves what she's doing, and that is why I chose my mini diva. And Kathy, I want to be you when I grow up, unless you're younger than me, which is really quite possible. And then I hope you're like me when you grow up, because I just love her. I love the raw applique, I love what you chose, and I love how much life you gave to her.
Hi, my name is Brian Landine. I am an email marketer on the marketing team for Grace Company. I've been with the company for a little over 2 years now, and I really love the Fall Festival Quilt Show. We've been getting a lot of amazing submissions, and I had the chance to look through them and see which one was my favorite, and I really liked in the chic decor section, the pillow, The Mountains Are Calling by Amy Westermeyer. I especially loved this because I grew up here in the Salt Lake Valley, 30 minutes away from the mountains, and I definitely hear that call. The call of the mountains is very strong for me, and I love being able to go into the mountains for hiking and camping, whether it's with a tent or a cabin, just anytime I'm out in nature. The design of that pillow with the colors and the mountains and everything involved with it definitely had a very nature feel to it, and I can appreciate how Amy must feel with the mountains, because I feel like I relate, and it's very similar for me. I know for like elements and features of the pillow, there were a lot of different things involved. I think the description even said that Amy looked specifically for kind of a grungy looking material to make it feel more natural, instead of like, you know, when you're in the mountains, you're not going to be doing anything with silk or super soft things like that. So it matched the theme of the pillow itself and the project. So I thought that was very well done and well executed. Now the colors especially, I think, were very, very well done, because with the mountains there were very good greens and browns. It really felt very natural and very just mountainy. I love looking at the mountains this time of year, right towards the end of the summer, getting into fall, where it's just really green and you can start to see the browns and things in there. So I think that the mountains and just the feeling that the colors created made it feel very natural and correct for what the name of the piece and what the goal of the piece is. I think this piece was really set apart because of the personalized nature and how it matched me, because I love quilts. I love reading and just cozying up with a good quilt, but for some reason this one, especially being as a pillow, where it just even more comfortable looking, just like the actual feel of it, but also the way that it matches my personality, my lifestyle. I love the mountains. Sometimes when I'm working, I'll even just go to YouTube and look up like, hey, mountain nature sounds or something like that. The way that related to me so well, I think made it kind of jump out at me. And if I could say something to Amy, I would just say thank you. This was a beautiful piece, and kind of makes me want to make a version of it myself and then buy a cabin to go with it, so I can go out and just enjoy that nature and feel that call of the mountains.
Hi everybody, my name is Allegra and I'm account executive here at the Grace Company. The quilt that I chose is called Cool Kaleidoscope, and in the description it says that she's new to quilting, and I am so impressed. There are so many pieces. It's such a large quilt. It's very impressive to see new quilters take on these really big projects. I also love like clashing patterns and mixing a bunch of patterns together, so I love all the different fabrics that she chose, and I am also a big fan of anything space themed, anything outer space, so having those background be those sparkly planets I think is really exciting as well. The colors, there are so many colors in that quilt. Almost every single piece is a different patch of fabric. It's very colorful. I love mixing colors. I actually don't like matching things. I always want my bobbin thread and my top thread to be different colors. I always want my panels to be different colors as well. So seeing such a mix of fabrics and textures and colors in that quilt is something that's always going to draw me in. And I always say if your quilt makes my eyes hurt, it's great. I think the quilt definitely has a homey feeling to me. I think I love that quilts are used as more like wall hangings and more decor, but I also love when quilts are given or gifted for the purpose of using it all the time. So when I first started, one of my first dealers made a quilt for me, and he always tells me, to use it however I use it. And if it gets worn out, then he'll just make me another one. So when I look at that quilt, I just think of like cuddling up in it, or always having it on my bed, or having it as a blanket out for people to see. Because like I said, I do think it's really impressive for being a new quilter and doing all of that piecing. And I think it's very impressive, and I think people should use the quilts that they use instead of just put them away for display. I'm proud and I'm impressed, and oh my goodness. I think I've probably said this a few times, but definitely for being a beginning quilter, you absolutely crushed that project.
Hi, I'm Sam. I work here at the Grace Company as an electrical engineer, kind of as a programmer as well. I spend a lot of time designing quilting machines. I looked through all the quilts and they were very impressive, but one that particularly stood out to me was called Dear Mary Jane. I think it was by Mary Almond. I really like the colors. It's like a traditional style quilt, and it's very intricate. It has a nice kind of fall sort of color palette, has many, many intricate, unique blocks that just really stuck out to me, and it just looked really beautiful. Like I just want to like sit by a nice warm fire in autumn time and curl up in it. But also it looks, I'd be a little worried too because of how nice it looks also. So very good job. I'm impressed with your patience. I've only made a couple quilts, but it's really hard. So really good job.
Hi, my name is Anthony Witterberg. I work in the sales department as an account executive. And the quilt I chose today was Celebrate, and that is in the home-based quilter section. It was done by Emma Allen, and she made this beautiful quilt with all these different colored blocks on there. We got all the colors of the rainbow, and I think my favorite part about this quilt is just all the different colors she used in those little quilt blocks. She did a bunch of piecing work, so there's just little sections of different kinds of fabric, and it seems like a great way to use up some excess fabric that you had scraps of or just didn't know what to do with, to make just beautiful ombre rainbow blocks. I think the biggest thing was on the black background, all the colors popped, and I am a very colorful person. I like all that in my life. So just seeing all the different ombres on there just pop off the black, and the little applique circles and little squiggles and spirals, they really just come at you, and I really like that. When I first saw this quilt, I was scrolling through, saw it, I was like, I really like that quilt. I kept scrolling back and I just kept coming back up to it. And it just, I like to celebrate and have fun and, you know, throw a little party. So I think just seeing that translated onto a quilt was really fun and unique. I haven't seen anything like that. I could say anything to you, Emma. I would say keep quilting, keep, you know, getting advice from people to make your quilt go up to the next level. And if you ever want to make me a quilt, I'd be happy to take one. I love quilting.
Hi, my name is Janet George. I'm an ambassador for the Grace Company. Thanks for joining me in today's workshop in their fall festival. Today I will be showing Making and Quilting, a Fabric Cafe 3-yard quilt. I will be using the book 3-Yard Quilt Favorites, and the pattern I'll be using is called Pretty Simple. So after I get this quilt cut out and sewn together, then I'll be loading it on the machine and the frame. I'm using the Quilters Evolution Elite frame. It's a wonderful frame. It's so sturdy. Look at this. You can't even make it budge. If we have a tornado, we're getting under it. And then the light bar, the Luminess Light Bar, it's just so well lit up. It's great. I can quilt late into the night and have plenty of light. Not that I should be quilting late to the night. And then the machine I'll be using is the Keynote 21X Elite. Fantastic machine. I love it, love it, love it. And I'm a total fan of Quilters Creative Touch 5 Pro, and it's version 5.06.09 that I'll be using. So after I get the quilt top made, I'm going to actually show loading the backing and the batting and the quilt, and then quilting it out and even putting the binding on it. So that's all going to happen in 30 minutes. So it's going to go fast, and I have to be a little bit limited in everything I show about making the quilt, or the Fabric Cafe Quilt Police would come arrest me for copyright violations. So probably what you'll hear is more tips that I do to make the process go faster and better in making their quilt tops. Not that it's the right way or you have to do it or it's how everybody does it. It's just my unique little tips that I'm sharing. And one other product that I want to show you, which makes everything just go so much nicer, is the True Grips. The Grace Company sells these, and if you're not using them, why? They are awesome, and they don't even cost a lot. So they just make your rulers be so nice, and look how thin they are. They're super thin, and they're even thinner than this because you're peeling them off. And there's a big round one and then a little tiny one in the center, so you can pick whichever one you want. And on your rulers, look, they're just tiny. They're just tiny, but they hold. They don't let the ruler slip. And it's just something small like that can make your whole sewing quilting process just go faster and smoother. It's like that little thing in the background that makes such a difference. So wanted to really point those out. If you don't have those, do get them. So like I said, this is going to go really quick because there's a lot to cover, and I certainly won't be chatty. I will just be clipping right along. So hang on and we'll dive in. The 3-yard pattern I'll be using is pretty simple, which is in Fabric Cafe's book, 3-Yard Quilt Favorites. Here are my 3 1-yard cuts. Fabric number 1 is the focus fabric. Fabric number 2 is the light fabric, and fabric number 3 is the dark fabric. I'll starch and iron them twice, then hang them to dry completely before cutting. After you've ironed your fabric, you'll need to square up one end to begin cutting from. What I do is line up the selvages and then use my fingers to shift it until there's no wrinkles or folds, and it looks like it's hanging nice and smooth. And then I lay it down on my cutting mat and get it lined up with the straight edge there. And over here, I'll get it so that I'm cutting off the least amount possible. And then I go around to the other side of my cutting table. So I don't know if you'll be able to do that with yours. And then I line up my ruler with the lines there. And then I set my weight there. And then I cut that little edge off so that I have a straight line to begin cutting with. Once I've made the cut, I move my ruler over on the yet to be cut part of the fabric, and then I gently pull the cut piece, and I'm watching to see if there's any little threads that maybe a rotary blade starting to get dull didn't cut. And then it's easy to clip, leaving this in place and not having to be replaced for further cutting. Once you've cut your first strip, hold it out and let it hang down, and make sure it's not hanging in a V so you'll know it's cut straight. Or you could lay it down on your cutting mat. If it's not a straight cut, then you will need to re-straighten the rest of your fabric before you cut your next strip. Iron out the crease where the fabric was folded before cutting blocks. After each yard has been cut, label all the different pieces cut, including the fabric number. After seams are stitched, first iron the seam to set the stitches, and then either press the seam allowances open or to a side. When ironing to the side, hold up the side that you want the seam to be pressed toward. Trim seams as you go along so you won't have as many to trim when you're done. So I'm getting ready to sew the first row to the second row, and I want to match these vertical strips up. So I just want to show you real quick what I do. I flip this down and pretty much line up the top edges so I've got the straight edges against each other. And then I take my glue stick And what I'm doing is I'm going to fold this back, and I'm going to make sure, I know it's hard to see with the black, and I'm making sure that it's lined up. Those edges are lined up, and then when it falls over, then I'm going to put just a little bit of glue there. I'm staying within the seam allowance, the seam part, and then I just do that and pin, and then I'm going to do it for the other strips, so that when it's stitched and I flip it up, they should look pretty straight. When stitching rows together, try to keep the weight from hanging off the edge. Accurate seam allowances are so important, and a slight amount of weight pulling the sewing area down can cause stitches to not be a scant 1/4 inch. Okay, so I'm sewing on the top and the bottom borders, and they each have a square on the end. So I want to match this up. So this is my cheating way of doing it. I just take glue stick from Walmart and just put a little bit right there. And then I have the seams pressed opposite directions. And then I just nest that so that it's right up against. And then I'll do the same in the corner there. And do that. And so now it's gonna sew perfect. When stitching 2 strips together, I try to have the side with the most seams facing up on the top side. Here, the border strip is on the bottom, since it has less seams to be concerned with seam allowances getting stitched opposite to how they were pressed. Square up your backing. If using minky backing, one way to get rid of the fuzzies is to unhook your vacuum hose and suction them off after making each cut. With your minky laying flat and top edge folded in half, measure that half width amount. From where your center will be on the leader on the take-up rail, measure out that half width amount to the left and to the right. Take a pin and mark where that spot is. Do that at the bottom edge also on that lower leader. I'm using Sew Tight Magnum magnets to attach the top and bottom edges of the backing. Pin the center of the minky backing to the center of your leader, then pin both side ends of the minky to the marked side edges on the leader. Then work in the minky backing in between the center and ends. After attaching the top of your backing to the leader on the take-up rail, you will repeat the same process for attaching the bottom of your backing to the leader on the lower rail. This will ensure the minky does not get stretched out and will measure across the same, both at the top and the bottom. I've got my backing loaded now, and I have my batting pinned because I am so bad about letting it slip. So I pin, and I put a T in the top left corner of the batting when I cut it so that I will know what is the top left corner. And now we need to slide this down to 4 so it's a basting stitch. I have the horizontal channel lock set, so you see I can't move it up and down. I can only move it side to side. And I'm just going to use this to pull the bobbin. Okay. And now I'm ready to go. Okay, and when I'm ready to stop, I tap that. Of course, I can use the screen, but it's easy having my hand there. So I'm going to move the needle away, move it back, and then I'm going to tap this other. I have it set to go needle down, needle up. And now I'll just clip this, and then I'm ready to load my quilt top. Another thing I do, I'm going to flip the edge over here, is I pet the minky. Now, sometimes you'll have the nap going sideways, but if it's going top to bottom, pet it and make sure that the petted side is loaded this way, because otherwise it'll be rolling against the grain, so to speak. Okay, so now I have taken the top and I've lined it up with that basting stitch I just made, attaching the batting to the backing. And again, I've pinned because I just can't seem to keep it from slipping, and that stops it. So I'm going to pull the bobbin. So I'm just going to press on this key and tap it back up and pull my bobbin. And I still have it set for a 4 SPI, and so I'm going to baste this across just like I did the top, and then we'll be back. Okay, so the top edge of the quilt has now been basted down next to the original basting stitch, and I have added my clamps on the front and put this side clamp here and a dowel to kind of hold it up, otherwise it kind of flops and hangs down. So I did that. And then my ribbon, I have stretched it across, and I have made marks wherever I wanted marks to be, but certainly on the left and right edges. So I have that. And now I'm ready to open up QCT and set my safe area. So I'm tapping on pantograph and top left. And I'm pushing my machine all the way back to the edge of the backing and tapping top left and moving it all the way forward and to the far right. And I've got the back of the machine pulled against that rail, not tight, just barely touching. Now tapping bottom right there. And that has created my safe area, which is 57 by 17. And you'll notice that's now in the total width and total height. But I need to change those because I need to enter what the total width of my quilt is. So I'm going to go into the yellow ruler, and you'll see that there's the slanted green line. So I'm going to move my needle to the left edge, and I've got the edge there. And this is just, I'm comfortable with that amount sewing off the edge. So I've got the edge of my glide foot there, and I'm going to tap on the left, and same thing over here on the right. I've got the edge the same distance as it was over there, and tap the right. Now it says the quilt width is 48 by 0.52 really, and I'm going to tap on apply measurement. Okay, so now that 48.156 is right there. And I'm going to go ahead and make it 48.52. Okay, so I don't have that long number. Now the total height of the quilt is 58.5, but I want to go ahead and add a few more inches. So I'm going to say 63. Okay, so that gives me plenty of leeway once I get to the bottom. Now I need to select my pattern. Wait, I'm in easy mode. I want to be in Power Panto. So now I have Power Panto selected, and select pattern and patterns. And this is under Pantos and Sweet Dreams and UGA Bulldog. So go dogs, open. Okay, so it is auto-filled with a pattern height of 7, but I want it to be 15. So I'm going to enter 15. Most patterns do need some spacing, some vertical spacing, either negative for some, and most do add a little positive spacing. I'm going to tap on the magnifying glass and bring that down a little bit. And right now the spacing is on 0. And I can add some, and then you can see the dog's print leaves the dog's paw leaves the paw print. But when I look on the pattern that I actually bought, and this is something I do like to do, is just look and see what the suggested spacing on the sheet that you can print out with your patterns. But you see the dog's paw is touching that paw print. So with this, I want that same thing. So I'm going to bring it back down to 0 so I get that same touching. So I tap on fit and then the X, and then I'm back in my screen. Now I'm going to tap on show safe area. I just like getting an idea of what the stitching will look like between the rails. And I need to save it. So I'm going to tap on Save Panto and File Name. And we'll just call this UGA. Enter, save. And now I am ready to sew in zones. The very first thing I want to do is go into Zone Manager. And I want to check that everything looks good. I'm going to tap on Show Zones so I can tell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be doing 5 zones. And I have a rolling rail frame, so 100% width, 95% height for a 21 inch. And I know that the zone size max is 16.32 inches, but I'm okay because I said 15. I want to make this be center placement, and I want each zone to start on the left, and I want to have continuous stitching on the sides. So now I've got that, and I'm going to say, okay. Now I need to go into settings, and I'm okay for medium speed, a tie-off count of 3, and a micro stitch, and I have automatic bobbin pull taken off, and I want 12 stitches per inch, so I'm good there. So I'm going to say okay. So now I just need to place my zone. So I'm going to the very center, so it's easy to tell where the center is on this quilt. So I'll just move it straight back, and I'm moving it just a tad above the top edge, and I'll place my zone. And what it's wanting me to do is make a mark with where I'm at right there. And I can do that by just doing this. Now it's marked. Okay, so there's a couple of ways I can pull the bobbin, and some people like to tap on the red toolbox and say move to start point. It's going to come down here because there's the green dot. The green lets you know it's starting there, and the red lets you know it's ending up there. So this is one way. So we'll just do this for now, and now I need to take a single stitch, and I can do that up there. Okay, and I'm going to take my thread, my top thread, and run it underneath and snag that bobbin loop and then pull it out. And now I'm ready to tap on sew. And then we'll be back when this zone has finished stitching. Okay, the first thing I need to do now that the stitching has stopped is to pull the bobbin. So I'm going to move the machine away, grab that thread, and do the single stitch. Okay, now I'm going to pull it away. It brings up the bobbin loop, and I'm just going to cut all the threads. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can say finished and proceed to next zone. Well, I know that it's going to be somewhere in here, so I'm moving the machine manually to save time, and I'm going to tap finish zone, proceed to next zone. Because I'll be marking on a dark fabric, I'm using my white chalk. Normally I use the blue disappearing ink, but when it's dark I can't do that. So right now I'm going to tap single stitch. So it takes the one stitch, it flashes done, and now I'm going to mark continue. And when it does, I'm going to be ready to mark where that thread is pulling up at. That's just how I do things. So I'm going to say continue, and it lets me know the machine is going to move, so I say okay. So now I get ready, and exactly where that is coming up. So where the machine has moved to is where this mark needs to go under that needle. And that won't be exact because I'll still have to clamp down and everything, but that gives me a good idea of exactly how far I need to advance the quilt so that I'm not advancing it too far or not enough. So that is a great feature. So right now I'm going to undo everything, and I'm going to advance the quilt, and I will baste up the edges. I forgot to mention that earlier, but I will be basting up the edges. And also I'll make sure that where I put these marks on this take-up rail, that is lined up with it. I did a big square ruler to make that mark. I usually wait till I advance it, but I wanted to go ahead and have that mark made. So I'll just make sure that's lining up, and then I'll make sure everything lines up here, and we'll be back to show starting the second zone. Okay, I've now advanced the quilt, and I'm ready for zone 2. And where I've marked on the take-up rail with a water-soluble Crayola marker, my 2 sides are good, and I've matched my my Christmas ribbon that I can use water to take that mark off and clamp down. I've also basted up the side, and the way I did that is I went into the red toolbox, selected Release Sewing Machine, and it says you now have manual control of your machine. That means my buttons work on my handles, or that will work. And then when I got through, then I said, okay, and now QCT has taken back control. So now I need to place my zone. I know it's not placed because the diamonds there are in gray. So I'm going to get my needle right over that spot, and I'm going to tap in the middle of that, and then I will come over here and pull bobbin just like I did before. I can go ahead and say pull bobbin. So why don't I just do that, just so you see that being done. And I'm going to hold this top thread because it's going to go to the spot and immediately take a stitch. And now I can pull that up. Okay. And it moved a little bit, but as soon as I tap sew, and it's still showing that pull bobbin thread on the thing, but I did, and I would tap sew. I'm actually not going to do zone 2 because it's bedtime right now. And so what I do, so I'm just going to pull this away, is I take one of my markers. Well, this isn't the one I use, but I take one of these markers and I just mark the zone that I need to start back with. So I'll be able to, tomorrow, I'll be able to come into Zone Manager. And right now 2 is selected, but when I open up tomorrow, it'll be up there on 1, and I can just tap on Zone 2 and say, okay. And now it'll be ready for me to start Zone 2 in the morning. We're now at Zone 5, that's the last one. So I need to cut it off to keep it from doing a lot of quilting down into the batting. So right now I've got it on my zone placement spot, and I'm going to place my zone by tapping there. And a zone is always shifted to the top left corner before it's placed, and those diamonds are gray. And you'll see once I place it, now it shifts over and the diamonds have turned blue, and I need those diamonds right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my needle down, and I can be anywhere across the bottom, and I'm just moving it to how far from that bottom end do I want it to stitch. So, you know, I think that's probably a good amount. So now I'm going to tap those cut-off looking diamonds, and that cuts off my design as much as I need for it to be cut off, and I'll get a straight line stitch across the bottom. So now I'm ready to stitch. And a couple of other tips is whenever you start a new zone, check when it first starts stitching. Check on the top, check on the bottom, make sure it's off to a good start. And then another thing is when you change your bobbin, always have a little piece of fabric over to the side that you can do some test stitches. And if you can use some fabric that came from that quilt top, all the better. And then before you take your quilt off the rails, okay, before you started undoing it, walk around to the back side and unclamp so that you can unroll it. But go ahead and unroll the entire quilt and walk back and forth and see if there's any spot that you need to fix that spot, because it's going to be a lot better to use pattern repair and get it lined up before you take it off the rails instead of after. So make sure you do that and look at it good. And then the binding. I'll be putting the binding on, and a 3-yard quilt always has you cut a 1 1/4 inch economy binding. So that's what the black is. But I want to do a flange binding, so this red, which will become the flange, that's 1 1/2 inch. So you just stitch them together and you press the seam toward the binding, and then you'll fold it in half and press it, and then you'll be able to sew it on right sides together on the back, and then you'll be flipping it forward, and then you can just stitch, like I'll use red thread and just stitch right there in that ditch, and that way I don't have to hand hem, and it looks very nice. So we'll be back when the quilt has been finished. The first thing I do after removing the quilt from the rails is to run a stay stitch around the quilt about 1/8 inch from the raw edge. This keeps quilting stitches from raveling out when I trim the edges to square it up. I square up the corners first by using a large square ruler. Then I use a long ruler to trim the edges between the corners. With Minky backing, I again vacuum the edges as cuts are made. I like to lay the binding on the quilt top in order to begin stitching the binding where seams won't land in the corners, which would add extra bulk. Use a walking foot to sew the binding to the quilt so that layers will stay equal. Keep the weight of the quilt from hanging off the cabinet as you sew. Press binding flat and then to front. This gives a neater edge to hem, whether by hand or machine. I apply glue to hold the corners perfectly in place before stitching. So now this quilt is finished. It's ready to go as a birthday gift. I love that I can quickly put together a gift, and Fabric Cafe with their pretty simple pattern made that so fast. And then having my own long arm, the Unique 21X and QCT5 Pro made everything go so fast and so easy. And Minky is nothing to be worried about for the backing. You can see how nice this turned out. So very thankful that I get to live Grace's dream and my dream. And thank you for joining me, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
With the dawning of a new era of Grace bringing out their first domestic sewing machine, today I am pushing myself out of my comfort zone and doing something which I don't often do, which is I'm gonna sew clothes. The pattern I've chosen is the Elodie Wrap Dress. It's by Closet Core. And the reason why I chose this pattern is because not only have I seen it on social media and I think it's a really flattering dress, but also there are no zippers, there are no buttonholes, so it makes it quite simple. So let's get going. I know this part looks terrifying and horrific, but actually when you buy the pattern, it comes with an option that you can print it out onto regular printer paper and then gives you the exact lines you need to tape in order to have the full-size pattern without having to pay out and go to the print shop. So that's exactly what I've done. So from here, we're going to go ahead and start cutting. I will say a little tip about this pattern is go ahead and get your measurements and base the pattern size you choose on your measurements and not your traditional dress size that you would go by in the store. Once your pieces are all cut out, you're going to go ahead and follow the directions and stay stitch the areas that they tell you to. Once you've stay stitched your heart out, then put those pieces aside right now and you are going to be assembling the back. And the back starts with marking your notches. The patterns are really great because they're really clear. So you just make a couple of marks and then you are going to put a pin in to hold it while you stay stitch them again. I'm not gonna lie, things like this, like pleats, usually really freak me out, but this pattern is so nice and simple that it kind of breaks it down and makes it easy. Now you have your pleats in place, the pattern says to go ahead and sew down the back seam of the top. They also give you the instructions that you need to sew 5/8 of an inch. Now, because I'm a quilter and not a garment sewer, I've actually gone ahead and marked where that is so that I don't go too far wrong. Now have your back sewn. You can pattern match if you want. I didn't. And you're going to concentrate on the front now, and you're going to do the notches on the front. The notches will mark the pleats. So you mark out the areas on the pattern and then you are going to sew 3 more pleats. And we're just going to press these new pleats to the center and baste them in place. Pleats seem like difficult, and it would have definitely put me off a pattern in the past, but it's explained so well in this pattern, so give it a try. There you go. That's the back, and there's the front with the pleats. Now for the exciting part where we actually start putting it together. So with your back bodice that you've sewn up the back, you're going to go ahead and pin the front bodice at the shoulders, and you are going to sew that with a 5/8 seam allowance. I will just check that 5/8 again. That's quite big. Okay, once the shoulder seams are done, you can go ahead and match up the side and underarm, and you're going to sew that with a 5/8 seam allowance. Those noises are actually pugs. One is snoring and one is just snuffling. Look, it's coming together. Slowly and surely, it has pleats and everything. Okay, these are the facings for the neck and the collar. They have got interfacing ironed onto them, and I'm going to sew these with a 5/8 seam allowance at the neckline now. And then what it wants you to do is either zigzag the whole length all the way around the outside. It says zigzag or serge, and I actually have a serger because I did used to make little clothes for my kids, so I'm gonna do that. These are my buddies. Swinky under the sewing table. Oh, you wagging your tail? You saying hello? And then over here we have Miss Bella. Hi. Hi. So here's my very old but still wonderful serger, or overlocker as we call it in England. Then in the area you have just serged, it asks you to fold that over by 3/8 of an inch and go ahead and iron that down. And then you are going to top stitch that in place. I guess the only tricky bit here is the corners, but it's completely doable. Just take your time. Then with that edge all pressed under, we are going to go ahead and top stitch all around the outside. Look how lovely that looks, all finished. I need a coffee break. So while I'm drinking my coffee, I was gonna go ahead and show you the system that I use from Grace for cutting usually my pixel quilts. That's kind of what I usually do. And the reason I love this system so much, not only is it ergonomic, so it really puts less stress on my hand, which when I'm cutting for kind of 4 or 5 hours for a pixel quilt is really important. But it also has this amazing system where you have a lip here and a little lip here. And it means that you are never going to suffer an injury. If you are careful, you should never, ever have an injury. And after you've been cutting for a while, that was important to me. So definitely check out the Grace cutting system. Okay, this is where it starts getting exciting, because this is where we're going to apply the facing to the bodice. So along that neckline, you are going to apply the raw edge of your facing, pin it well, and then you are going to go ahead and sew that with a 5/8 seam allowance. This is where the stay stitching along the neckline really helps, because obviously you've got one fabric that's quite light and flimsy, and now you've got a more sturdy fabric with interfacing that you're sewing onto it. So this is where it's kind of important to do the stay stitching. Okay, now I'm sewing the facings with the interfacing in to the neckline. It needs you to do it at 5/8. So again, I've measured and marked, because it just seems such a big area when you're used to a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that it's all sewn on, you're going to want to put it inside, and then you are going to want to give that a nice press. Okay, with your facings on, it's looking very beautiful. Now I want you to do 2 things. One is where that facing sits at the shoulder seam, it wants you to just kind of stitch in the ditch there a little bit, like 1/2 inch. And that just means that it will sit there nicely. And then the other thing it says to do, which I'm not going to do right now, is it wants you to understitch the seam allowance to the facing. So, but the bit I will do, which is next, is we are going to sew both the sleeve hems and finish those off. Okay, so I must admit, in my younger days, there would have been steps that I've done that I probably would have skipped. And one of them that I most definitely would have skipped would have been hemming. You can do it fine without pressing, but I just find if you press before you sew, the finish is better. So here goes. Okay, this is where it starts to get really exciting. We're going to do the skirt. So you have to get the 2 skirt backs. You're going to sew those together down the seam, and then you're going to sew both of those onto the skirt fronts. It's a lot of sewing. Skirt's done. It's a lot of seams. And now move on to the belts. There's 2 of them because they don't go the entire way around. They go either side. And what you're going to do is put them right sides together, and then you are going to sew the entire length. And then you will have the wonderful job of pulling them through. Let's do it. Once you've sewn your belts, I know there's like lots of specialist tools you can get to do this, but actually pushing something like this back through, I just have a chopstick and it works perfectly. So now we're going to iron this. Okay, the belts are nicely pressed, makes a real difference, so don't skip out on that part. And now we're going to assemble the waistband. So what you need to do is get the parts of the waistband, so you have the back and the 2 sides. One is interfaced and then one isn't interfaced, and we are going to go ahead and sew one right hand side to the waistband. Now one of them, the one that's interfaced, we're going to go ahead and sew that just with a basting stitch down the right hand side. And the reason it's only a basting stitch is that it will be removed at a later date, because that's where you will put your belt into. And then the other one is also going to need to just be basted as well. So we'll go ahead and do one side, and then we'll come back and do the other. And put the other side on. Remember, you want the interfaced part to go with the other interface section, and then the non-interface section to go with the non-interface section. When you've sewn your waistband, you need to go ahead on both of them and sew and iron the seams open. And then after you've done that, leave the interfaced one, grab the other one, And what you're going to do is press one long end of it under 5/8 of an inch and just press it. Putting that aside, we are now going to attach the interfaced part of the waistband to the bodice. Okay, waistband, that's where it's getting real. You're going to need to pin the waistband to right sides together to the front of your bodice. This is the interface waistband. This is the one you're going to want to pin, and it will overlap by about 5/8 of an inch. You're going to need to get the side seams lined up, and if it doesn't fit and you know you've cut it out right, chances are your pleats aren't deep enough. So just FYI. When it's all pinned, you're actually going to baste this in place within the seam allowance. So this is the first stage of the waistband. You have got that basted on, we are going to turn the bodice to the wrong side. So the inside now of the bodice, we're going to go ahead and line up the waistband without the interfacing on and stitch that in place. So now you're going to sew through all 3 layers. You've got the interfaced waistband, the bodice, and the non-interfaced waistband. And you are going to sew with a bigger seam allowance, a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, so it will catch that smaller seam allowance and you won't see it for the interfaced waistband. So you just sew the entire length of the bodice now. This is the bit where it gets really exciting. Now we're going to grab the skirt and we're going to attach it right sides together to the waistband with the interfacing. So you are just going to pin this like your life depends on it, and then we are going to go ahead and sew. For this one, you need to use a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and just to make sure that your waistband extends past the skirt 5/8 of an inch. Okay, now that's done, you're going to get the right side of your dress and you're going to pin the unfinished end of the belt to either side of the outer waistband. Just align the raw edges, but when you sew it, you baste it in place, you need to do it within the seam allowance and you just need to stitch through the outer belt. So you can see how it's lined up here in the waistband. The belt, the raw edges are the same, and now we're just going to baste it in place. And now that is basted in there, we're going to go ahead and close this. So now the belt is basted into place. We're going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to do a 5/8 of an inch stitch along there. And then you can see when it's turned right sides out, the belt will sit nicely in the waistband. So you just need to go back and clip these so it sits nice. You can see how nicely that finishes it off, and eventually you will press and then just hand baste this. But before you do that, you've got to get these basting stitches out of the right side seam. So you're going to open up this area in the right seam so that you can pass the belt through. To do that, you just need to get a seam ripper and take out just a few of the stitches in between that area on both seams. They will be sewn back together by hand after this has been sewn into place. And here is the inside of the dress, all ready to just be hand stitched. Last two little bits of sewing to finish it off is to hem the whole of the skirt and then just close the hole in the side where the belt comes through. Just neatly close that up a little bit. This is it. This is the Elodie Wrap Dress. The skirt is really full, which is what I love about it. So go check out their pattern, and it truly is a dress you can make in a day, even when you're a quilter and you don't really sew garments. So go check them out.
For joining us for day 3 of Fall Festival. I am Allegra Erznosnik.
I'm Anthony Witterberg.
That's right, you got the A team with you today.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that this is our second to last day of Fall Festival. It is coming to a close, but thank you so much everyone for joining us. We're gonna start off with a quick question, and I just want to know what your favorite project from today has been. And why? Tell me why too. I want to know why.
That's good. All right. Do you have a favorite project you've seen so far?
I don't know if I had a favorite project today because I didn't get to see a lot of Fall Festival, but I did get to watch the little segment on our picks for the Quilt Festival. I thought that was really fun because I did hear from you and other people and our team members which ones that they picked, but I didn't know what other people picked, so it was really nice to hear that. Hand-stitched denim quilts, okay, fun.
Right. Oh, we got the dress from the last one. Her demo was really great. I liked that one a lot.
And she's great for all other things too, and her pixelated quilts are wonderful. The Fabric Cafe quilt, okay, fun.
Let's see, who else? Who's denim. I like the denim. I like, you know, to paint jean jackets and do that kind of stuff. So I am with you on that. The denim was fantastic.
Yes, yes. And I know my mom has loads of denim stocked up because one day she's going to make a denim quilt.
Ooh.
It hasn't happened yet, but we've got loads of denim.
All right, the 3-yard quilt. That one was unique. I think that's one I could try. I feel confident in that. Any more projects?
Any more projects that people liked? The quilt with the minky backing, because I am planning on making one for my granddaughter's graduation. That'll be so fun. I love getting quilts as gifts. I know she's gonna love it too. Because I have a full tote of old jeans, yes! Keep your old jeans, make a quilt, it'll be wonderful. Any others that you liked today? Loved the wrap dress, can't wait to try it. I know, I'm thinking I need to start making my own dresses. I've seen so many people make them and it was part of our theme this year. I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh, it is time for you to whip out some clothes.
This is your sign to start quilting, man. Listen, you are the fashion person.
I am getting there.
You're working on it.
All right, well, thank you so much for sharing with us what your favorite part of today was. I really love hearing what you guys enjoy and what you look forward to, and it helps us plan our future fall festivals as well. Now we're gonna talk about the theme. We've already covered it, but it is, oh my gosh.
Did you cover it?
It's a celebration in quilting and fashion. I did cover it. Something that I love, fashion, obviously one of my favorite things. Are you a fashion fan?
I am a fashion fan. I will say Allegra takes the cake when it comes to fashion. They are always probably one of the best dressed on the team. They come in ready to show up. So when I saw this theme, I could only think of you and what projects I'm gonna see coming out of you.
I've never been so excited for a fall festival theme before. I was like, yes. Quilts and clothes, my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We're gonna jump into looking at the fall festival deals.
Okay, so it's a big month for QCT. 30% off is one of the best deals I've ever seen here. This is outstanding prices. So you can get all your different levels, QCT 6, $24.49. That is a great price to get started on QCT, and you can always keep upgrading to our Plus, our Pro, and you can get that gold card.
Yes, and like Anthony said, you do not see this price any other time of year. No. This is the month to get that automation. It's great. You're not going to see it at this price in November or December. Honestly, you're probably only going to see it like this next year. So really hop on that. Yeah. We have our Q-Zone frames. The Q-Zone hoop frame is at $889 and the Q-Zone queen frame is at $1,089.
All right, we have our Evolution frames. You can get the hoop style for $21.99, or you can go big and get the Elite for $31.99.
Oh yeah. And our Cutie frame is at a very special deal this month at $579.
It's been a long time since we've seen prices like that.
It has, and our Cutie Breeze is now available. Pre-orders are open. It's going to be $1399.95 with those handles over the top, a few new features as well. It's a great frame.
You're gonna love it. You gotta jump on that.
20% off our rear handles. I have never seen these on sale before.
I haven't either.
I've been here almost 2 years. I've never seen these. This is also an amazing deal that you should hop on as soon as you can.
All right, our 16 series, all great prices. You can get started at our manual for $34.99. You can jump up to the 16X, $44.99. Or you can get the Elite $49.99.
16X Elite is my personal favorite machine. This is an amazing price. Yeah. Get that machine. Our 19X series and the 21X Elite, we have the 19X at $64.99, the 19X Elite at $76.88, and then the 21X Elite at $84.99.
And I'm gonna advocate for that 19X Elite. Jump on that one.
And 20% off all TrueCut products. Anthony, do you have a favorite TrueCut product?
I do. It's pretty basic, but the comfort cutter is going to be my go-to every time.
I was worried you were going to say the circle cutter. I was like, that's my favorite. You can't pick it.
I know not to step on your toes with the circle cutter. That is your thing.
Yes, and we have our Little Rebel as well. The Little Rebel bundle number 1 is $24.99. That comes with the Little Rebel and the limited edition navy blue comfort cutter. You can also add QCT6 to that and bring it up to $43.09.
If you want to jump up to level 2, shaking up the system, $27.50 for that one. You're going to get a cute tote bag, some stickers, some thread, a navy blue comfort cutter, which I desperately want, a mug that says change the world, and a ruler with some true grips.
Yes, and I love that merch bundle. Not only is it the HBQ tote bag and the HBQ stickers, but I also love that the threads match the theme of the Little Rebel. I think it's cute. You can also add QCT6 to the Shaking Up the System bundle for $45.60.
And I know we have talked about the Cutie Breeze already, but if you want to get it in this bundle, you can get the third bundle, our Full-On Anarchy, $31.89. You're going to get everything from shaking up the system with that Cutie Breeze.
Yes, yes, and you can also add QCT6 to this bundle as well, bringing it to $49.99. I'm so excited for the Little Rebel to come out. I can't wait to take my own home with me. I mean, oh my gosh.
I've been talking about this for a long time. They want to get their hands on that Rebel. After trying it out myself, I gotta say, I got the quilting bug. I want to take one home too now.
You get the quilting bug when you work here. You're like,
do.
I just need to quilt now. I need to quilt. It like consumes you.
Yes.
I think this is a perfect segue to maybe jump into our first bingo giveaway.
We gotta do one.
Yes, so my question is, Little Rebel pre-orders have been extended, and what is that date?
So he's listening to get their pre-orders in.
Yes. So Little Rebel pre-orders have been extended to a certain date. What date is that? All right, well, those comments are coming in. Let's pick our giveaways.
Alrighty.
Give them time to find the people.
All right.
Okay, we got a red one. Anthony, which one do you want to do?
I think I already talked about this being my favorite TrueCut. Let's do that 45mm comfort cutter.
Perfect. Yes. And who is the winner on this one? Oh my gosh, Marcina Duarte, congratulations. You got the 45mm comfort cutter. If you are not familiar with TrueCut, you're gonna love this. It's gonna change your cutting experience. And I mean that.
Yes.
All right, let's roll for our second one.
All right. Oh, fast. Whoa. I want to give you multiple prizes, but we're gonna stick with the white one here. Whatever that is.
And that is the rectangle ruler bundle.
All right, let's see who's winning this. Babette Watterson.
Congratulations.
You're gonna love these rulers.
You really are. I love them.
Me too.
And I love the True Grips. They're amazing. Okay, for our third one on the platform, let's spin our last bingo.
We'll go a little easier this time.
Ooh, different ones every time.
Got yellow.
We're gonna do the circle cutter.
We have to do the circle cutter for you.
I can't not give someone the circle cutter. I love the circle cutter. It does circles anywhere from 2 inches up to 12 inches. You're not limited to circles only. You can do half moons, you can make leaf shapes, you can do donuts. You have a lot of creative freedom with the circle cutter.
Who are you gonna give this to?
To Deb Rogers.
Hey.
Congratulations, Deb. You're gonna love it. I love it, obviously.
Yeah.
So yes, Little Rebel pre-orders have been extended to November 5th. And if you were one of our bingo giveaway winners right now, please email me so I can get your mailing information so I can get your giveaway out to you as soon as possible.
Yes.
Yes. Alrighty. We do want to remind you to be wary of scammers. If it comes from us, whether it's an email, it will have to say @graceframe.com. So be careful you're looking at those URLs and where emails are coming from, and make sure it is coming directly from us.
Yes, and we also encourage you to follow our social medias. That way you can get, updated on our best sales. And if, you get an email that looks a little too good to be true, you can definitely see by giving us a call, or you go to our social media, see that we do have that deal, because our sales are too good to be true, I gotta tell you.
All of our social medias are a variation of Grace Company or Quilting Grace. We're putting them all along the screen down here at the bottom, but really if you just put Grace Company in any social media platform, you'll find us. Yes. We also want to remind you to leave a review. Reviews are great for us, they're great for your friends and other customers. So please leave those reviews on our website. We'd love to see them and get your feedback, and I know other people would want to see your feedback as well.
Yes, I know when I shop, I am a huge review person. First thing I do, I scroll down, see what anybody else says, and when there's a product with no reviews on it, I get a little, maybe I should be the first, but maybe I shouldn't. So we want to see those reviews. Let people know that you love our cutie frame, you love this machine, you love our TrueCut systems. We want to hear from you, and I know everybody else wants to hear from you too.
Yes, so definitely leave those reviews, please, please, please. And also, we also want to remind you to donate to Loose Ends, our charity for Fall Festival.
Yes, so they do an amazing thing. You can go to this website, looseendsproject.org, and you can donate, or you can even sign up to help out those who are wanting to get their projects finished. And they finish projects for people who are not capable or have passed away. And they have all sorts of different kinds of, it's not just quilting. So you can get your crochet projects done, or you can get a sewing project. It can be anything across the board if they have somebody near you. So I recommend looking into them. Go to that website, check them out, and see what you can do to help, and see what they can do to help you if that's the case.
Yes, it's a wonderful charity. It's amazing. And like Anthony said, you can send in projects to be finished. You can be one of their finishers as well, or you can just donate to them. And I know they will love any of those options. Yes. Yes. Let's see, we talked about our social media. Let's talk about Etched. So, as you know, in the past, you've been able to come back to the Fall Festival platform and rewatch all your videos, but we have come out with the new platform, Etched, that you can find all of our videos, Fall Festival on. It's a little bit more organized for you, and it's a great place to find any education videos, or maybe you might need help with something. So all of our Fall Festival segments will be uploaded to Etched.
All right, so we'll just go to our website, show you to get there. So you'll see this, welcome to Etched. You scroll down, and you're gonna see a couple options here. It shows you what we have to offer, our entertainment, our events. You hit that Explore Now button, and it takes you to our videos.
Boom, there we are. Yeah. And look how many videos we have on there already. You can get access to all of our help and education videos as well. So I definitely recommend checking out Etched, not only if you missed some Fall Festival segments, but also so you can see what we have on there for you. And
I will say, not even if you missed something, we've had a video or two that was part 1 was aired live, but part 2 you have to go to Etched. So if you want to see how to finish that project that you were so into on day 1, day 2, go to Etched, find part 2, finish your projects.
Yes, and I'm seeing some comments come through about how they love Etched, so we're happy to hear that as well, knowing that we have a platform that you guys also love. Yes. Yes, thank you. Should we do our HBQ story now?
Yes, we should. I love a good HBQ story.
We do love a good HBQ story. All right. This is Barbara from Addison. Quilting is a way to share what I enjoy. I started sewing when I was old enough to thread a needle. Mrs. Avery was my 4-H teacher and instilled a love of sewing in me, which continues to this day. There isn't much I haven't sewn, from clothes, crafts, upholstery, to quilting. Other than being taught how to sew, I have taught myself how to do the rest. I have made several quilts over the years and started by hand tying, but my favorite is quilting by machine. I enjoy incorporating embroidery into my quilts. I've also started doing some applique. So many different options to choose means lots of variation, never dull or uninteresting. My first machine quilted quilt was one I made for a contest. It was a reversible 16-patch pinwheel, 4,992 pieces, one side for spring, summer, and the other for fall, winter. You can see the 2 color schemes in the photo, and quilted with many hearts from a pantograph on my grand quilter and frame without automation. Before the end of the month, I plan to buy the 21X Elite with a Continuum 2 12-foot frame and basic automation. I can't wait to see how this expands my quilting ability. It's a lovely story. Thank you for sharing it with us. And I'm also so impressed that you taught yourself the rest. You started, someone taught you how to sew, and then you kind of just filled into pieces. That's really impressive.
It is. I can't imagine making a quilt as big as you did for that contest. So props to you for that. I want to see that. I need to check it out. I know.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. I know we love to hear them. Everyone else loves to hear them as well. So thank you.
Yes, and if you are new to the HBQ stuff, it is our home-based quilters. We encourage you to go to our home-based quilters on our website, check out that yearbook, and submit your story because we want to hear them. We love them. We'll read some out loud every time we do a live because we love them that much.
We do, yes. Okay, let's do our pre-registered giveaway, the last one of the day.
All right.
And then maybe we can jump back and do some more bingo.
Let's do it. What are we giving away?
I'll let you do it.
Okay, so it looks like we are going to do our 5-foot luminous light bar.
I love our light bars.
Me too. You ready to do a drum roll for
I'm
our
ready
winner?
for a drum roll.
Ready?
Congratulations, Alicia Ponader. We're going with that.
All right.
You're gonna love this light bar. It uses true color technology. So the colors that you see under the light are gonna be the colors when you take it into the sun or maybe into a darker room. You're not gonna realize that maybe they didn't quite match. And it is, they do use LED lights, but they're not hot to the touch, so it makes them really nice to work on under for long periods of time, and it gives you great lighting as well.
Yes.
So congratulations.
I'm excited for you to get that. And just a quick reminder, we are going to be, since you're a pre-registered giveaway, we will be contacting you, letting you know that's coming out. If you are a bingo winner, please email Allegra for your prizes. We want to get those out to you.
We do, yes. But please be patient with me. Not only are we here working on Fall Festival, we're also still taking phone calls and everything like that. But I promise I will get your giveaways out to you as soon as possible. All right, should we do another bingo giveaway?
I want to do another bingo giveaway.
Okay, this question is a little bit similar to the one when we said hi, welcomed you guys, all that fun stuff. But I want to know what project from Fall Festival, it doesn't have to be day 3 specific, but what project from all of Fall Festival have you seen that you want to try?
Give you time to think about it. There's so many to choose from.
It's kind of a loaded question.
It is. It's like asking to pick your favorite child. Like, you can't ask that.
I mean, you can ask it. Alrighty. We have some things coming in. I like that. So let's roll for our bingo prizes.
All right. Got another yellow.
A yellow one. We'll do the 4-pack of variegated thread.
All right. And who is going to receive this thread? Susanna, you are going to love these variegated threads. It just gives much more dimension to your projects. And, you know, 4 colors is a lot to try out. Maybe you'll like them and come back.
Yes, and our finesse thread, it's great. It's 100% polyester, a 3-ply. It comes on mini cones, so you get 1,500 yards, which is just enough to finish a quilt without having too much left over. You're going to love it. It's great. I love it.
All right, let's get another winner up in here. We are getting the same prizes, so let's get another rectangle ruler bundle. Choking on my words here. And who are we giving that to?
Carol Jean, congratulations. The memory quilt, something that you want to try. I also would like to do a memory quilt. We've talked about this. I love clothes. I can't even tell you how many hoodies or t-shirts I have that I don't really love anymore, but I'm also not willing to throw them away. And now they're all sitting in a box ready to be made into a memory quilt.
Yes.
Yes, yes. All right, our third prize, our third bingo.
Wow. Rectangular ruler bundle is a winner today.
It is popular today, yes. All right, here's the rectangle ruler bundle, and that is for Lynn B, and she wants to try that 3-yard quilt.
Oh, all right. I will want to see pictures. So.
Yes, we love seeing the projects that you guys complete and finish. And if you ever want to show it off to us, we want you to.
Yes.
Here is the email for all of your bingo giveaways. If you're a pre-registered giveaway, I do have your email, so I will reach out to you. But if you are a bingo winner, I have no way of getting in contact with you. So please email me so that I can get your information and get your giveaway out to you. Alrighty. Well, this is the end of day 3. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow for the last and final day of Fall Festival 2023.
See ya.